let him in a couple times.
I love being able to see who's in the waiting room.
Let me see. Get me up.
Hey guys, sorry I'm running late here. Computer issues. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Is Carl again? Oh, Carl's in. Someone.
I'm here.
Okay. Was there another Carl? No. We have two Carls?
No.
No. All right. Now, don't just let us let in people and mute and unmute people to me or Mike, because if everyone's doing it, what usually ends up happening is we're turning off and on the mute or letting them in and out, at the same time. So it doesn't work. And Mike, you should just let me do it, but you need to back me up. But
That's
in
fine.
case I don't see
I don't
anyone,
think you.
because I think a couple of times
I
Oh,
don't
not
think you've
yet.
given me a host permission. Okay.
No, I have to, because you're probably going to save me again and have to put up some plan or something. I've made everyone co-host so they can be mute themselves and unmute themselves and have more control of the meeting. Oh, someone let RCN Studio in. All right. Sent that to Dave. Okay.
All right. Good evening, everyone. We'll begin shortly here. Just letting everybody in. Apologize, we're running a few minutes late.
I can start recording and I could just go through the first half of that governor's,
Sure, go ahead.
going to do it the cloud. Hello, everyone. I'm Chuck Tironi, the Reading's Conservation Administrator. Consistent with the governor's orders to suspend certain provisions of the open meeting law and allowing us to adhere to social distancing requirements during COVID-19, the Town of Reading Conservation Commission is meeting is being held virtually via Zoom, audio and video participation of the Conservation Commissioners, applicants, and their representatives and the public. During this meeting, myself or the chair of the Conservation Commission and the applicants and representatives of the public will be asked to mute and unmute as needed during the meeting by the chair or by myself. Only the ones that have the permit that's being discussed will be allowed to speak during the meeting, and then following that discussion, the public will be asked if they have any questions. The chair and the administrator will be the only ones prepared to share video. These controls are in place to ensure that tonight's meeting is safe and effective. At this time, I will conduct a roll call to confirm that the members are present. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I don't know if you want to do this, Mike, or me, but I can just run through it. I have a list.
can do this.
Okay.
So just to add to what Chuck had said, if you'd like to follow along, our agenda and project documents are on the Conservation Division webpage. The way that we're going to conduct the meeting is we will have the applicants present. We'll turn it over to the commission and we'll provide opportunity for comment. You can use the raise the hand feature if you do like to comment. As Chuck mentioned, we'll mute and unmute. If you feel like you didn't have the opportunity to provide comments, you can always comment to our conservation agent. We strongly recommend that you provide your comments to ci.reading.ma.us. The information for the division email is also on the Conservation Division webpage on the town website. I think Chuck mentioned this, but tonight's meeting is being recorded by RCTV, and the order that we do this roll call will be the order that we end up voting. So
There you go. Hey,
I'm
Mike,
Michael.
we got the roll call. Just the next meeting, the script. I was just going to say, the script was just the roll call, and then I had a whole bunch more to say.
Oh, sorry.
And you kind of ad-libbed, which is okay. But just make sure everyone understands that this meeting is being recorded, and anything you say can be picked up by the mics and by the video. And just protect your privacy, please.
Sorry, Chuck. I thought you were done. So Michael Flynn, chair. I'll turn it over to Anika.
Anika Scanlon, vice chair.
Martha.
Martha,
Go ahead.
did you get that? Martha Moore, member?
Great. John.
John Sullivan, member.
Scott.
Member.
Carl.
Carl Sacconi, member.
And Kay.
Kay Evans, associate member.
Thank you. All right, Chuck, sorry. If there's other things that I didn't hit, go right ahead.
No, we're good to start with the first agenda item. Would you like to, it's for Cold Spring Road. Would you like to read that off, or would you like me to do that?
This is a continued public hearing on a RDA filed by Michael Salomon under the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, Chapter 131, Section 40, Reading Wetland Protection Bylaw, Section 7.1, for the construction of stormwater recharge system with an overflow outlet structure and associated grading within the 100-foot buffer zone to the BBW. The application and plans can be viewed on the Conservation Division page under the current project. This is map 27, lot 404. file number RDA 2021-1. Last time, 2 meetings ago, so this would be January, and the second meeting in January, the applicant presented the project to us. We've received revised documents, and I think I saw Giovanni is here. Giovanni, do you want to present the revisions that were made? Just kind of recap the changes.
Hello. I'm trying to turn the video on. Cannot. So it says the host has stopped the video. Let's try that one more time. I cannot get the video going right now, but all right, here we are. How you doing, Giovanni Federa with Federa Engineering, the project engineer for the project. I will share the screen if that's okay.
Sure, Giovanni, hold on
Yeah.
1 second. Let me give you permission. Hold, one second. Let me get this going here. Okay. So I muted everybody. I'm just going to unmute because I heard some background noise. Unmute Giovanni and then let him share the screen.
All right.
Okay, you should be good now.
Awesome. Thank you. Share that. All right. So this is the project. Just to kind of give a quick recap, it's a 4-lot subdivision. The only resource areas on site are wetlands, which are in the northeast corner of the property, over in this corner here. The wetlands were flagged, and they were flagged last year, so they are valid. So as of last meeting, I know the major concern was getting a tree inventory of all the trees that are within the buffer zone, and to show that we do comply with the tree protection regulations. So since then, we did go out and locate all the trees located within the buffer zone, and they are kind of highlighted in red over here for each tree location. There was a total of 21 trees within the buffer zone, and they all seem to be located kind of near the wetlands and not really located near the disturbance area. This orange hatch right here represents the disturbance within the buffer zone, and this area is really made up of a lot of shrubs. They're not trees, and we can really see it even from Google right here. This is Google Earth. This is the area of shrubs right here. You know, the 3D is actually a pretty cool technology, as you can see. You know, we have all these shrubs located in this area, which is the same area as the disturbance area, and we have all the trees located right here, and that reflects what was surveyed over here. So the disturbance within the buffer zone, there's not going to be any trees that are going to be removed, and so a tree replacement would not really be necessary in this situation. And it's only going to be removing the shrubs, and will be converted to grass, and the runoff will be controlled. All construction will be also controlled with the blue line represents the silt barrier. So that will be a straw wattle silt fence. Previously, the last plan I did show a 9-inch straw wattle. Since then, we did upgrade that to a 12-inch straw wattle. It is detailed on sheet, I believe it's C4. My program's a little slow right now, so if you can just bear with me. think it's sheet C4. Let's see. Yeah, so the erosion control plan, the erosion and sediment control plan, which is sheet C4, we have the detail in the bottom right-hand corner, and it does show that it's a straw wattle, 12-inch straw wattle, and that will be pretty much protecting all sediment, potential sediment going towards the wetlands. As we discussed last meeting, we will have temporary sediment forebays in these locations right here, which will also capture any sediment from construction disturbance. But those are pretty much the major changes. I do also want to mention we have gone to the CPDC since previous meeting, and we did get approval and a final decision issued for the project. We do have the engineering memo based on the approvals that was requested. So we did provide all of this within the second submittal. But that's pretty much what we have done so far, and this is what we have presented in front of you, and I would like to open it up to the commissioners. If you want me to
All right,
stop
thanks.
sharing the screen, I can stop sharing the screen as well, just if you would like, unless it's easier to discuss, but whatever's easier.
Might as well keep the project sheets up just in case the commission has some questions on the sheet.
Okay.
So I'll open up to the commission for questions. Scott or John, do you guys have any questions with what we got?
So it doesn't look like any trees are being taken, it's just the shrubs, right?
You get that, Giovanni?
Giovanni?
Oh, excuse me?
So no trees are being taken within the 100-foot buffer? It's just the
That is
shrubs?
correct.
Okay. I mean, I haven't been out to the site, so not really. I mean, I saw the pictures of the shrubs. I don't know if anybody else has been out there to see, the extent of the shrubs that would be disturbed, but kind of curious to hear what the other commissioners have to say if anyone's actually been out there and done the site walk, know a little bit more about the shrubs that are out there that might be, taken, but I don't really have any other major concerns or questions.
All right, thank you. Dave or Martha? Dave, I saw you kind of came on. Do you guys have any questions?
No questions. It looks like he
Okay.
addressed what we brought up the last meeting.
I don't have.
And Martha, you were out there for the first site visit, right?
Yes, I did go out before the last meeting.
I don't know if you can answer, Scott, if you have a recollection of the site, relative to what Scott was talking about. I think that's what I recall when I just did a drive-by, is that's just some shrubbery.
The area that shows as shrubs on the Google Earth just looks like it might have been stuff that grew in over time. It looks pretty much like that picture. There were some test pits dug someplace, but it's, yeah, there aren't any trees in that area. It's just, I don't know, it could be something as big as a small sumac, but nothing bigger than that. Nothing 6-inch diameter for sure.
Okay. Dave, sorry.
No, I'm all set. Everything seems to be answered that on the document that we requested from the last meeting.
Okay. Carl or Nika?
Carl, do you want to go ahead? Why don't I just go ahead? Yeah, looking at the plans, it looks like I understand that trees are not in the area that's going to be cut. However, shrubs also provide a certain level of habitat area. And just looking at, can't remember which sheet it is. It's 18 out of 24 on the submittal that we got by email. But, you know, the area that is being turned into riprap, overflow, and lawn looks to be almost roughly equal to the area of no tree cover between lot 1 and lot 2 within the 100-foot wetland buffer zone between lot 1 and lot 2. And I guess that leads me to think, you know, I believe, and I'd like to hear from others, I believe the habitat in this buffer zone is not necessarily the most native or healthy habitat. So I see an opportunity here for a little bit of habitat improvement. And I wanted to explore that possibility. Maybe some plantings or a little bit of invasive control. So that's my comment.
I just have a question on that. What is your basis for the ask? It's almost
The
like,
basis,
it seems to be like you're asking for mitigation, and I don't think that there's an ask for mitigation in this case.
well, I think mitigation is a strong word. You know, usually we ask for mitigation when we're doing a variance, but here's what I see is, you know, our call is to protect the wetland and the buffer zone and that resource area and habitat as well. And besides development and stormwater infiltration, I just didn't see, I was wondering if there was another opportunity to do something else, plant a couple of shrubs. I mean, just because the shrubs are not trees doesn't mean that they like don't count as habitat value. You know what I mean? So I guess I'm sort of thinking, you know, with the cutting and development of that outer wetland buffer area on lot 2 and lot 3, can we see a couple of shrubs, or can we see some can we see some wetland seed, not wetland seed, but maybe a wildflower mix planted? Can we see some sort of habitat improvement effort happening?
So could I jump in for a second?
Sure.
I think that would, you might even ask, do you need to clear out that entire area, even on lot 3? Is there any way to reduce the clearing just to install the pipe and riprap area? And then, you know, and so the why is it all cleared out? I assume some of that has to do with getting there and doing some maintenance if needed. But again, there's a lot being removed that that's not even, that looks like associated with that outfall area. So if you could just leave it alone, we might have just solved, you know, some of what Andika's asking.
You're saying decreasing the amount of
Yeah, see,
removal of trees.
Yeah, it says area of shrub removal within
Yeah.
resource area. That's, yeah. I mean, you guys might want to control what that looks like and pull it out, but then replant, you know, more structured native vegetation.
Yeah.
But again, it's like it's being pulled out on lot 3, which I was going to ask about.
So I can go to the stormwater plan, grading and drainage, and you know, as we previously discussed, we do have a pretty large recharge system, and once it pops up, you know, we'll be able to see it. But yeah, it's right here. You know, because we have all this new impervious area, we do need to capture all the stormwater. And this was determined to pretty much be the best area to infiltrate. The soils are pretty well drained there. And so minimizing any disturbance for this area, I believe we did meet the minimum disturbance because it's just really tight as it is.
Right.
And as much as I would like to move it away from the wetlands and kind of towards this area, I would love to do that. However, we have a hill that starts going upwards, and it's known to be ledge in this area, and we just can't really work in that area for recharge.
And I see it's also a slope in that area.
Exactly.
Just down by where Anika was asking. Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't want to steal your thunder, Anika. Please continue.
I don't think we need to rewrite the stormwater design. You've already done so much work on that. But my ask is, instead of, is there any harm to, instead of replanting on top of that stormwater detention basin, instead of replanting grass, can we do native wildflowers? You know what I mean? We don't have to, that's what I'm asking.
So we can't really plant anything on top of the recharge system. So on top of the recharge system, we cannot. However, let me go back to the grading and drainage plan. Let's see. I'm going to zoom in to this area right here. It does start to slope off from the recharge system. As we can see, it goes from elevation 106 up to elevation 108. So we do have that small area right here that's sloped downwards and into the natural vegetation. If there were any area to do planting, it would be in this small sloped area within the 106, and I wouldn't go any closer to the 107 line just because of the roots.
What about the area? What about the area that's not covered with tree canopy on lot 1? The area that is not grayed out. I'm talking about just within the 100-foot buffer.
I see what you're saying. That is not, I believe we did meet the tree protection bylaws pretty well, and I think we do meet those regulations. So I didn't know if that was I don't think that would be necessary to do replantings there.
I just know visiting there, going down to that head wall and the stream down there, the the quality of that vegetation is pretty, in my opinion, it looks pretty poor. And that's not a reflection on anybody or anything. It's just, it is what it is, so part of what I'm wondering is there anything in here that any part of the habitat can be improved?
Yeah. And Giovanni, let me just jump in for a second. So we have a tree protection policy of trees over 6-inch DBH, but outside of that, everything else that's out there falls into habitat and soil disturbance and things like that. So it doesn't mean that you only have to cover that tree policy. So Anika's asking a question that has to do with our regulation. It has to do with the Wetlands Protection Act, and it's more about habitat and coverage and shading and things like that, and soil disturbance. And it's consistent with what we've asked before. I understand that you can't put shrubs in that area, and you're concerned about the recharge system. And of course, you were going to seed that area, I would have suspected. You know, Anika, it's more than 100 feet away from the wetland. It's more forested. You know, a couple of things that we've done is we've looked at it before and we've tried to replace what's there. I think what's there now is shrubs, and Giovanni's saying that we can't use those. So it looks like it's more grasses and flowers and, you know, some sort of seed mix that we're talking about in this area, which I'm sure is
Yeah,
what it was going
and
to be in some form.
yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt, Chuck. I don't mean to do that, but just if you go to sheet C3, you can see very clearly inside the 100-foot wetland buffer, there's on lot 1 and lot 2, there's a white area.
Right here.
And that's really what I'm talking about.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm open to have that comment, you know, be discussed with all the commissioners, and you know, I can speak to my client after the meeting, you know, to see what we could do. But you know, I'm open to discuss that with the commissioners.
Yeah, I mean, Chuck, I would say, and I know you brought this up first, but Chuck, I think your clarity there is correct. You know, there's one thing to say we have a tree policy, but at the end of the day, there's, you know, everything that we're doing is associated with habitat and protection of wetlands, and anything that we're taking down that gets rid of that is part of it. If there's a way to improve that buffer zone, particularly in areas where it may not have it within the 100-foot right now, I think I'd like to see that, particularly considering just how much clearing, you know, this overall is going to do. I know there's a lot of areas that are outside the 100-foot that are not part of our purview, but it's a lot of work within that zone. It's a steep hill, you know. I think some sort of planting or improvement would be valuable out there.
Okay.
Giovanni,
Yeah, I can.
Guess just out of curiosity, on the back, so you can't put anything over the retention system. I guess, is there any room, like, so I just imagine someone's going to move in, and separate from conservation or anything, people like vegetated buffers or fences. Like, is there anything along the back there? I don't recall. Is there any sort of separation on the property line?
There is a stone wall. That is kind of the property line, but that's about it.
That's the existing stone wall, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, I can, you know, I'm open to the idea of, you know, you know, what the commissioners have in mind for that buffer area that's currently grassed, and you know, I can speak to my clients, and what the commission determines would be the best outcome. You know, I'm sure we can work with that.
And just to add, if the current resident at number 4 in lot 1 is also going to stay, I don't have any issue with, you know, the nature trail that's existing there. You know, I think that's a good way to enjoy the habitat back there, and I think that's a good thing. So I don't know if the current resident's going to stay there, but you know, just if the resident is, just let them know if there's any plantings in that zone. They can reestablish a trail through it, you know?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I know the current homeowner, she does plan to stay there. and she would love to use that trail as much as she can, you know.
Okay.
So, yeah, I just need to understand how we're leaving this in this area where the riprap and the outfall is. That's going to just be seeded. Is that what you were thinking? Would that be regularly mowed, or do you think that slope would prevent any kind of mowing, so it would just go natural?
I
Giovanni.
believe it would be. I believe it would be mowed. It would be
You think you can
maintained
get-
by the homeowners.
Okay, so it's that. All right,
Yeah.
so it's going to go to. Okay. My other question is within this area that you've highlighted as the area of shrubs removal, you know, which that we keep talking about. So when you disturb any area, you create an opportunity for invasives to get a foothold. And I'm going to ask that you monitor that area to make sure that invasives don't get a foothold. And, you know, our jurisdiction only goes 100 feet. So I'm only going to ask within that red hatched area, but it would be great if you did the entire stone wall. I know the lawns will take care of themselves with everyone mowing, but right up against the stone wall would be great too. We'll have a blurb in the order of conditions that mentions that, and I did want to mention it in the meeting also.
Okay. Absolutely.
Kay, and I apologize. I don't think I gave you the chance to comment. Do you have anything?
Hi, I'm here. No, I was just following along. I agreed with what Anika and Chuck were saying, and I don't have anything else to add. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to what the commission thinks here. Well, before I start this, does anybody in the public have a comment? You can use the raise your hand feature. I'm not seeing any. You know, I think from my standpoint, and I'm open to what the rest of the commission thinks, I do like, I want to see some additional planting in that zone if that's the place that makes the most sense, but something to replace what's the habitat that's coming down. I don't think we're talking about a whole lot of planting or a whole lot of add to this. I guess my thought is, it seems like a pretty small item to me. Is there a way that we've approved plans with like contingent on submitting a planting plan or some additional before? I don't see any, like, it seems like a small item to hold us up on, but I'm open to thoughts on that.
I could
Chuck,
offer.
you look like you have a thought. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think we need to even ask for a plan. I think I would hope that Anika and Giovanni could come to a conclusion on, you know, I think Anika needs to be more clear about what she's asking for, you know, for this disturbance, so Giovanni can kind of think about where that could go. You know, it's her question. I could add to it if I brought it up. I know what would satisfy me, but it's Anika's question.
Go ahead, Anika.
So just to clarify, in case it isn't, what I'm specifically asking is, can a wildflower seed mix, a New England wildflower seed mix, go in and stay, you know, and be maintained in that white zone on the plan we're looking at between lots 1 and 2, inside the 100-foot buffer?
When you say maintained, you mean by the homeowners, or because
meaning don't mow it every year, you know, let it come back.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's what I had in mind as well, just kind of letting it grow on its own.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How would that be marked off on the property so that, you know, it becomes, so a situation like that becomes part of the approval, and it needs to be kind of passed on. This is a no-mow area. Is there some sort of marking you could put on the lawn to note this? Because you don't have a fence and it's just left open.
That's a good question. I'm open to creative ways. Small stones, I don't know.
Yeah. Any other thoughts from any other commission members on how to replace the habitat loss for that hatched area, whether it's in that hatched area or on lot 1?
Just trying to look at the aerial and see.
Martha has her hands up.
I'm sort of looking at the area starting with the word 75-foot wetland buffer going out to 100-foot wetland buffer. There's a dotted line. There's kind of a nice triangle there. I wonder if, I don't know, 3 or 5 high bush blueberry bushes would fit in with the current landscaping and provide some wildlife habitat and also enjoyment to the owners who live there. Kind of filling in that piece of that triangle.
Yeah, and is it also to help in the to prevent the invasives from just taking over? Anika, right, is one just maybe to push the point here is that maybe it would also help with that as well. If say the high bush blueberry started to take, right, that'd be kind of a deterrent to the invasives.
The area in lot 1 is established. I don't know if, the grading plan might not go over there in that area. I mean, we have a limit of work line basically in lot 2. So
Okay.
this is established. That's a path, and where it says lot 1 in that triangle area is the start of a path. And the blueberries are a good idea, but they might block the path.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking starting from the dotted line and going towards lot 2, not having them come out into the area that says lot 1.
Right here.
Yeah,
Okay.
kind of over there, so that you still leave the open grassy entrance to the path, but you have some blueberries over on the side, some on lot 2 and some on lot 1, kind of in between the 2 dotted lines. I don't have a strong opinion. You just said, are there any other possibilities? And that was one that I was thinking of.
That could also help with mowing concerns.
What was that, Scott?
I said that could also help with mowing concerns as far as, if it's bushes versus just grass, if obviously the concern would be marking it out where the basically do not mow area is. If there are more shrubs or bushes, then there's less of a chance of someone just going through there with a lawnmower and
Yeah, getting lost sometime in the future. No, I think that's a good idea. That makes sense to me. Giovanni, does that sound good?
Yeah, I can relay this back to my clients and I'm sure they would be okay with working something out. Yeah.
Okay.
Should we, it just sounds like that you need to, Giovanni, you need to really understand their approval. So it doesn't seem sure to me. So should we continue, do you think? Or is this something that you feel that you're certain that we could probably get something to work out? I mean, I think that
I feel
Go ahead.
I would just offer, Giovanna, the other option that we could do is, approve it with that, this concept. You can always come to us and say, look, we looked at it, the blueberry bushes don't work, and here's the alternative that we are thinking. Obviously that would be up to the the commission to say, yeah, that meets the same intent as the blueberries that we just talked about. But it allows us, it's a way to not continue and just say, we've got a path forward. So I'll leave that up to you though.
I feel comfortable enough to, I have an understanding of, what your wants are, and I think we can meet them. I don't think it would be necessary to continue the meeting. Like you said, it is a pretty relatively small matter, but I feel pretty comfortable that I think we can meet it and satisfy the commission.
Okay. Is there any other items? Chuck, do you have anything else?
No, I just want to, Giovanni, just show me, and we're talking about 3 high bush blueberry bushes and this triangle area between, well, that's on lot 1 and lot 2, right?
Yes.
Okay. And three's the number. Okay, I got that written down so I can put that in the determination when I'm writing it up.
Great.
Oh, okay.
And do I hear a motion from the commission? Go ahead, Martha.
Do we close the meeting or do we issue an order of conditions? I'm not sure what I'm.
This is an RDA, so we'd be issuing a negative determination.
Okay, I move that we issue a negative determination for 4 Cold Spring Road.
Second.
Do I hear it? Michael Flynn
Second.
in favor?
Anika Scanlon in favor.
Martha Moore in favor.
John Sullivan in favor.
He's in favor.
Carl Ciccone in favor.
And Dave, here's your spot.
David Panett in favor.
All right. Thank you very much, Giovanni.
Thank you.
All right. Moving right along. The next item on the agenda is 77 Arcadia Ave. This is a continued public hearing on a notice of intent filed by Joseph Bankovich under the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Reading Wetland Protection Bylaw, Section 7.1. The applicant is seeking to construct an in-ground pool, paver patio, fencing, limited site grading, and within the riverfront area. There's minor proposed site grading changes associated with the project, and no trees to be cut as part of the project. All work is within the 100-foot buffer zone and the 200-foot riverfront area. The application and plans can be viewed on the Conservation Division webpage under Map 14, Lot 48, DEP file number 2700741. I believe the applicant is here and Jack is here. Just to give a quick recap of our last meeting, the applicant had presented the project, and one of the things that Jack, you had presented was associated with minor work within the riverfront area and what was being proposed. Chuck, I know you did some good research for us, and you had reached out to DEP. I guess before we turn it over to the applicant, can you just inform the commission what you had found out in regards to this, the rule?
So yeah, I reached out to DEP and I asked them about the pool because, it seemed to be pretty broad statement that a pool could be exempt, and DEP let me know that, a pool is an example, but it is a minor project. But they want to warn us about Olympic-sized pools wouldn't be included in this minor activity or minor project. So when you look at the impacts to the resource area and 50 feet away, we're not talking about a pool that's associated with a lot of, a lot of work that would take to dig in the ground and create a huge patio and, a lot of disturbance. So impacts during the project and then reducing the impacts after the projects is completed is part of this. It all has to be 50 feet away, but it is up to the commission that this applicant has come to the commission with a very minor pool, and all the activity associated with it can be managed to reduce or eliminate impacts to the resource area as it's going in. So.
All right. Yeah, no, thank you, Chuck. I know we had asked you to look into that some, and Jack, I think we had said to you last meeting, you came to us with an interesting problem that, we frankly hadn't really seen before. I think this project aside, I think it's good to understand that the idea of that rule on any project that comes before us it has to be minor in nature. And so Chuck's example is good of like somebody's coming through and saying, well, here's my Olympic-sized swimming pool that I want to put in. That doesn't necessarily meet the right, and it's the commission's responsibility to determine that. So I think that provides some good clarity as to some understanding there. But so just with that, Jack, I'll turn it over to you. But I'm glad we're able to get a little bit better understanding for that.
Is Jack unmuted?
Okay, there I am. Thanks, Chuck. Yeah, I was just trying to point out to the commission that the state did have this as a minor activity. It does call out pools and patios. I think in this case, we didn't even have to file with the state. We did. And we did file a full notice of intent under your bylaw. So you can still impose your normal conditions that you would with any other notice of intent. And I think the commission will view this as minor because we're not cutting any trees. It's over a lawn area. It's just minor grading and all the work. The patio and the pool is outside of 50 feet. And where you can condition it, I would hope that the commission would see this as a minor activity. We didn't file an RDA, so that way you can issue your standard order of conditions. And like I said, the owner, if you felt, some low bush blueberries, maybe a half a dozen low bush blueberries could be planted along the bank area. My client was open to that idea, but I think this is a type of project that would normally get approved under an NOI anyways. We're not looking for special treatment on this, but when I did notice this on the book, especially where we're inside the 100-foot inner riparian buffer zone, I think DEP put this in specifically for these cases, for these older homes that predated the riverfront area, that kept a 50-foot natural buffer, that they allowed some sort of way to permit this without having to go through a major application, proving performance standards.
Great.
And I'll turn it over to the commission to see what thoughts you guys might have.
Yeah, I don't mind just starting. I don't disagree, Jack. I look at this project and I do think what you are showing is meeting what the intent of that rule is, that it's minor in nature, that it's not taking up more space than need. Other commissioners may feel differently, but I think I'm in line. I think that makes sense to me, what you've just explained. I do like the idea of adding vegetation within that zone, particularly along the bank. to help improve that habitat in that zone, create a little bit of extra buffer. And I think you just heard it would be like our blueberry bush, if that's the right that's the right plan or something else. I'd like to see something added in that zone to just help improve the habitat there. I'll go backward from what we did this time. Anika, do you have any comments?
Change it up. Of course, what we want to do is to preserve and maintain habitat as best as possible. But it is existing lawn, and they are outside of the 50-foot. And just looking on Google Maps, there's at least 2 neighbors on Arcadia that are situated in a similar relationship. Like it's the street, their house, their backyard, and then the river. There's at least 2 neighbors on Arcadia that have in-ground pools. Now, I don't know if those people came before us to get permits or not. I can't remember. But, I did look into the regs a little bit, and I didn't have the conversation with DEP, and I do appreciate that, Chuck. So I would appreciate some plantings. I think I see on the map that there's a trampoline back there, but I don't know if that's old.
Yeah,
So that's
there's a trampoline back there, but it's not staked into the ground. And again, I have no problems with planting. I've started planting vegetation in that area starting last year is part of a project my daughter and I have been doing to honor my wife passed away last year. So we kind of started a little healing garden back there. So our plan was to continue with different plantings back there. So if you have recommendations, we're happy to plant anything you want back there, or we'll continue to plant that area up because we enjoy it back there.
We've got a lot of good people to recommend plantings. So I'll let them speak.
Yeah, I know he had mentioned the blueberry bush. There's there's viburnum, there's native dogwood shrubs and things that will all looks a little bit shade back there. Just look at the north arrow here. So, and all those will all give you some interest too with their colors and also provide pretty good habitat. So.
Okay. Martha, do you have any questions?
I think the suggestion of the dogwoods or the viburnums or the blueberries sounds lovely. And we were just looking at 2 different Google Map views. Is the one with the trampoline the more recent and the one without the trampoline earlier or something?
That's right.
Okay. Yeah.
This is on Google Maps. This is 2019, and the other one was like 2008.
And we're expecting the swimming pool to go in the open space close to the house before you get back to where the trampoline is.
Correct. And more than likely that trampoline is going to move or be removed completely from the property.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm fine.
Kay.
Hi.
Kevin.
My thought is to recommend permeable pavers around the pool as an option for stormwater management.
We are showing a paver patio to be installed. So it won't be a solid surface patio. It would be a paver patio to allow water to move through between the pavers.
Are the pavers created in such a way to leave gaps, or is it just standard pavers, Jack?
I don't think myself or the owner got that far. He just told me he wanted to do a paver. I didn't
Well,
spec like an eco
There is
paver.
there is a difference. I mean, I
Yeah.
just didn't want to be out there that a paver patio is the same thing as a pervious paver patio.
You're right.
So
You're
it-
right.
that's
whatever they, and I don't know what they really put around pools. I know it's either concrete or pavers. And so whatever the pool company recommends that they're going to use for paver, and I don't know if it's permeable or what, but that's what it would be.
Yeah, Tay, I think it's a good recommendation. The one thing we've generally done with this commission is when people have come to us and said a pervious paver, we've generally said, well, we're not going to count that because the lifespan of those aren't necessarily consistent. After a certain amount of years, they get silted in, they stop performing, and so I think we've had mixed reviews on the commission in general in that in the past. I haven't seen that things have necessarily improved with those that much, but
we just had a pool approved on the other side of town that the owner was painstakingly looking for pavers that were pervious for his patio. I don't remember telling him that it didn't matter.
Okay.
I think it was a Jack Sullivan application also. Can't think of the guy's name in a second, but yeah, he did. Manny was his name. I don't know, Jack, if you remember the address, but
It was on Gregory Lane.
yeah, and he did a paver patio and a pervious. It was pervious, and he really looked into it. It was also sloped. This was one that was really close, though. At the end of the day, you were maybe within 25 feet of a resource area. He was going to put up a fence.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a pool that had a variance, right?
I think the pool existed and the paver patio was going in. It was just time to finish the lawn off or finish off whatever they needed to kind of finish off the backyard.
I think
Chuck,
the project is that there was originally in the order of conditions a row of gravel around the outside of the patio, and instead of doing that 2-foot wide gravel, he did the gaps between the pavers to let the water go down in between.
Oh, okay.
That's right. That's right, Martha. Yeah, he didn't like we got it approved with a 2-foot crushed stone strip off the patio. He didn't want to do that, and he asked to make a change, and that's why he came up to offset removal of that crushed stone drip trench. He had to come up with a paver patio to satisfy the commission. And Chuck, you were right. He was right up against like the 35-foot no structure zone, and his lawn went right out to the wetland line. It was a different type of site, but yeah.
Yeah. On this site where it's proposed paver, I see that, but then it's what's between the paver. As soon as you get off the paver, is that lawn? And it's just graded out, or is it?
I was showing it as lawn. I'm not sure if Joe may end
Yeah,
up
it's all
doing
on all
plants.
sides. It's lawn.
So it's the only it's like pool, paver, and then lawn, even though it's graded out in that area, and then it's existing lawn with those trees. Yeah, I don't know if it seems like there's a lot of lawn to infiltrate between, as soon as it comes off the paver deck area. So
So it's fairly flat too, so I feel like there's not going to be too much of a flow, right? I mean, It's not like.
Another question that comes up, can you guys work within the existing like limit of work, also hay bale line and build this pool? Or is that not going to work out when you think of equipment coming in there to kind of dig this out? So it looks a little tight.
I try to, if you see how I have the construction access to the left of the driveway,
I do, yeah.
and I put in that, where I put the limit of work line, I'm trying to protect that 22-inch tree. And there's enough room to get around the house with construction equipment. And as I stated in the first meeting, there'll be no soil stockpiling. They'll basically have a machine in there. Any soil would have to be loaded out, trucked out immediately. But yeah, we'll be able to work in that area.
Are you putting down any boards or mats to kind of protect the root system of that 22-inch tree? I understand it's outside the 100-foot, but it's within the 200-foot.
It's within the 200-foot, yeah.
Well, I'll say this, they better.
Yeah, if compacting, I mean.
Yes.
We get Carl here, so I don't think compacting the root system is going to be beneficial to that tree. They should be really close to the house. They should hug the house, and you might even work with the contractor and try to move that erosion control as far out into their path, into that construction access as you possibly can.
Yeah, I think I think knowing the equipment that'll come in there, it can fit through there. It's not as tight as you might think to the house, but I think it'll be fairly easy for them to get in and get out without doing too much damage. And I would expect them to lay down boards to protect the area around those trees and my lawn.
Gonna go back to this one and see if it's what that tree looks like. Yeah, that's a pretty big tree. It looks like the drip line's very close to the edge of the house. So you're gonna be running over the roots no matter where you go on there. The commission might consider requesting some pads to go on top of that to disperse some of the weight in this area.
You guys, could it be as simple as they need to protect the tree and keep it as that? I mean, if there's issues with the tree, it needs to be replaced.
Yeah, so if someone runs over the root system, and again, I don't want to step on Carl's toes here, but if someone runs over the root system or does some damage to the tree, that damage can affect the tree up to like 4 or 5 years later. And it's directly part of that. So I think that
we'll be long gone before we ever find out.
It makes sense that there was some padding, something to put out there. It doesn't look like there's the ability to stay away from the root system. So
no, and Chuck, I would just add that typically the stationary site where the excavator will be sort of, there for an hour at a time, a couple of hours, which is usually, I would suspect, where are we here? I mean, on the left kind of side of the pool if you're facing it. But just driving where those trees are kind of past, the tree should be at least a little bit of a break compared to just sitting there, working, right? She'll be hopefully closer to the excavation of the pool, which maybe could just help. But
yeah, you got the front end loader, and then you have a truck right there because they're taking everything off the site. So I don't think the front end loader is going out front. So
yeah.
So it just gets down to, do you know what could protect that area, Carl? That we could write in, or is it something that we need Jack and the applicant to look into?
In the past, in the projects, we've had to aerate the roots for something like this because any sort of substantial padding or flooring can be extremely expensive. So limiting the work, get in, get out, aerating the trees, the soil around it could work post job. But like you guess you're saying with the truck, there's just, it's just tough.
Yeah, it looks tight. It looks like, yeah, it looks like the truck would be right.
Damage to the tree, like, following that limit of work, the hay bale or the silt sock. No damage to the actual tree or the tree trunk is huge, which I'm not expecting, but I'm just, like, that's almost even really could be worse. At least we're only kind of covering, 30% of the sort of root, around the tree versus, so again, get in, get out is the best method, I would think.
Is aerating something instead of padding? You're saying that that's a less expensive alternative?
Yeah, that's just absolutely. Yeah. The padding is kind of a big upfront cost and usually seen on even, more like even larger jobs. So I would think that if there's a concern there, I think and that's could be done from any kind of sort of horticultural company or tree companies usually have those on capabilities, and it's not terribly expensive, and it's just good to, if you want that tree to preserve and do well, that is definitely an option. So
yeah, being that close to the house, I'm sure everyone has an interest in keeping that tree alive.
Yeah, it's not just, one for the health of the tree, but even for long term, even just safety or coming back in 5 years. We've worked with Chuck, I've never had to ask in these local companies, but I would not be surprised if what's the one, Northeast or Tree, or one of the tree companies would have that on board. So
all right, so sounds like I don't know what the contractor has. So if he has some sort of something to go on top of the roots, then that's
Carl,
great.
is that
If
something
not,
you do after?
oh yeah, yes, it would be. Yeah, yeah, I would really recommend it after you. Again, for certain, I have worked in a project where we've done some preventative maintenance, but I would think of a job like this that would be great and still worth it. Just post digging the hole and almost really wrapped up. Because there's no point in doing it until you're just any other mini excavator or bobcat will be gone from the site. And plywood will help for sure. It'll just maybe not compact as violently with like a 3/4 or half inch plywood for sure. But that's not the end all be all for sure, is plywood. But
Yeah, and I apologize. I'm trying to understand less for this and just in general. So the idea is we've got heavy equipment going over the root structures and the soil there. It gets overly compacted, and so the idea is to aerate that zone to remove some of that density, remove some of that, allow some of that, kind of get it back to what it was before everything was tracking over it. Okay.
Yeah. In short term, yes. Again, just to be clear, the plywood is still better than nothing, and will do something. They just won't leave that intense tire mark as bad as not having it. So
yeah. So Jack was saying he feels like he didn't have to file with the state. I'm sure it says that because I recollect that it says something like you don't have to file something, but it seems to me that it's like a chicken and the egg thing where you need the Conservation Commission to let you know whether you've met the qualifications to be a minor project. And this is an example because and 10.2 2B1 requires that work is performed in a manner as to reduce potential adverse impacts to the resource area and stabilize the disturbance to the area after the work. And I think that's what we're talking about right now. It just minimize so Jack is required to minimize the adverse impacts that are associated with this project. And so the applicant, not just Jack, but the applicant too. And, this is what we've identified as this tree and how to protect it and how to ensure that it's viable for years after this project is in place. And I think the two things came up, but I just don't know how to move forward because we don't know if the contractor has the pads or if, we could just ask the applicant if he's willing to aerate the soil after the project and let us know what the contractor he chooses has for either, pads or if they're going to use plywood, which I guess is not going to be the greatest.
Let me ask this, Chuck. You do a pre-construction meeting with the contractor, correct?
I do, yeah.
So we could put something in the order of conditions that we want to see this tree protected. I'm not sure Joe's even knows who is going to be doing the excavation work. He has the pool company, but we don't know who's coming in.
I do know.
It's part of the pool company. So we could condition this at, that there's some method to protect that tree, either the plywood or future aeration. Also, I could have a totally separate construction entrance and come along the front yard and around the other side of the house, but I'm just trying to have as least disturbance to Joe's lawn area as possible. And it seemed to make sense to come off the left side of the existing driveway. There is 20 feet between the house and the tree. I know the drip line for the tree extends closer to the house, but if they come in with a smaller machine, they're able to hug that house, and you put in some condition and you let the site guy offer up some way to protect the tree. I think that would be a happy medium. It's one tree. Worst case, if it was damaged and had to come down, then he's going to have to get permission to do that and then either pay a fee like any other applicant would or replant some more trees on site.
And I think when I had driven by, there was snow. So is there lawn existing where you have construction access written on that left side?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess just thinking out loud, it wouldn't be any different really than the right-hand side, or?
I think the only thing's protection of that one tree we're talking about. There's no trees on the other side of the house. It's just
right, yeah. So I guess I'm saying if there's still lawn to be protected, or let's face it, trampled on each side, right? Is on each side.
Yeah, but that's any site. I mean, any site
right.
of that.
Right.
I think they're coming from the driveway, Carl.
Right. They'd be coming off the driveway.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I didn't know if you meant
it might not be a big difference on either side.
I wouldn't have. Yeah, I think coming off the driveway. Are you getting a new driveway too?
No, I prefer to do it on the side of the driveway. No, I'm not getting a new driveway. I prefer them to go in that way because it's just easier access. I guess it really doesn't matter if they need to come in. That other side is my yard is a little bit nicer on that side than on the other side.
Yeah,
sure. So I think Jack's, go on the same side, and we'll just do a pre-construction meeting. We'll ask for tree protection, and just so your contractor knows, you should tell the contractor that we're going to ask, and it has to get done. I mean, tree protection because they're going past it, so probably he's going to be putting 2x4s at least around that tree on one side, and then somehow to kind of like displace the weight of whatever he's using, and we're going to leave that up to the contractor. But at the end of this, it sounds like aeration isn't that big a deal, and that would probably be worked into the order of conditions. So if those all sound agreeable, we can move on to whatever the next question might be at this point. Joe, is that good? Or Jack, do you feel
Yeah,
That
those
makes
are-
sense, Jack and Joe.
Okay,
Yeah, those are agreeable to me.
okay, great.
All right. I lost track of whoever. John, do you have any questions?
I think I'm good for now.
And Scott?
Nothing additional.
Kay, you had a comment that led to all this discussion. We kind of bounced around, but did you have any other items? I don't want to.
No, I don't think so. Thanks.
And then I think the only other, Dave?
Oh, I'm all set.
Okay. I think I hit everybody, but certainly if anybody in the commission, if there's any other questions or comments. Chuck, do you have any other items?
Let me call up the plan again and let everyone look at it. And I was just trying to, I think that Kay's question about pervious pavers should be, and I don't know where we ended up with that. I know I jumped in on it, but it might be something that, Mike, you want to, either get a vote on or discuss a little bit more.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Carl.
Well, is the ask for the pervious paver? It's in my just one. So it's not because of any lot coverage issue. It's just simply a runoff and having the water perk. Correct? Is that just what we're trying to get at around the pool?
I guess since I brought it up, my thought was because you are taking out a piece of permeable lawn and replacing it with the impermeable pool, that for recharge and for stormwater runoff, that and I saw this very nice proposed paver patio laid out there, and I was thinking that's a great opportunity there's many options where you can space it out with crushed stone in between or grass, or do something because you are within the buffer zone, to have some infiltration of water.
And so my only thought with that was, if for this case with the buffer and the wetland, and if you're going to have a wide joint, that can sometimes be less stable and almost more for like an open lawn area, maybe not for so much 10-15 people around a pool deck kind of being active and swimming. And then interlocking pervious paver, you have to dig down an extra 6 inches of excavation, and in my mind, without some tending to the pavers over years, they end up filling in 5 or 6 years. So I don't know exactly how, and just the kind of cost involved with that. So I don't know, like just my 2 cents, I guess, but.
Yeah, and I wanted to be clear too. This is the pool decking area, so
right.
It's not some. I mean, I don't know how permeable you could really make it without taking away from what the pool decking is supposed to provide.
Right. Yeah.
And my understanding is that pools are not considered to be impervious surface in terms of runoff in heavy rainstorms, because they just fill up with water. It's not like a roof that's going to be shedding the water and having it run down into the river. They're just going to collect the water. So it's only the patio surface itself that's becoming impermeable relative to what was grass before.
Right, and all that paving, Martha, will grade away from the pool. So the pool will only collect rain water, but not the flow from the patio. So, but in my mind, it isn't a, I guess if you're asking Chuck, I don't, and my vote would be to, it wouldn't be a deal breaker for me, but.
Yeah, and I guess I don't understand, well, I don't know enough about it to understand whether you can allow water to percolate through the pavers close to a pool, or if that matters or not. It's just, I guess it's a question for another day. To me, it doesn't really look like a lot, and there's a lot of lawn in between it. This is not in the Aquifer Protection District, which would be a factor in my decision if I wanted to make sure that we were compensating for perviousness. And the distance between this and the I guess the Abidjona River seems to provide enough opportunity for anything that sheds off the deck, to infiltrate. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, I think one of the things that may be important with this project is to ask for maybe some more plants. And I know everyone likes high bush blueberry, but just to have like this rough strip, this natural strip that gets unmowed as close as it can to the top of bank would be important also, because that would really strip away anything that happened in this area. Like I said, I don't think anything's getting down there, but if it's not mowed. Joe, do you mow right down to the top
No,
of bank?
that area is all natural brush, and that's, yeah, I don't mow. I only mow up to where I have the vegetation garden area. I
Right
only
here?
mow up
Yeah.
to that area, yeah.
Oh. But really, it's already an unmowed area.
Can
Okay.
I ask a question? Can I ask a question about the possible plantings around the existing, around the proposed paver patio? Is it just going to go to grass lawn all the way around that paver patio in the back? Are you going to landscape it?
Yeah, I'm going to landscape. I don't know exactly how, but I am going to put some landscaping around it.
Okay, and the part of that I see as a benefit to infiltration is besides recharging groundwater, the infiltration process helps to filter the water as well, helps to clean it as it's infiltrating. So, whatever runs off that paver patio, I mean, if we were really concerned about runoff, we could have a small gravel strip around the edge of the paver patio before he starts some sort of landscaping outside of that. If that was something we were interested in. That's kind of getting into the detail here, but
Yeah. I think we learned with I'm going to say Manny because I forgot the name of the address again, but that is not a backyard feature people like. It's very rough, Manny was willing to do it, but then when he started to put that in, he just didn't like the looks. Certain, I could see it a long driveway needs something, we're trying to get any kind of infiltration. So you throw out a lot of stuff, and then the last thing you throw out is, the cheap alternative, which is just dig a trench and throw some stone in it. And that would be accepted. But in this case, I think we've already mentioned all these reasons. I mean, I see this as pretty baked, pretty fully baked, except for the issue that we started with, which was we had the offer to do some planting. Does anyone think that more planting needs to be done? Understanding that there's the landscaping that's going to go around the pool, and the fact that it looks like, I can't see the marks, but maybe this is the 25. Oh, it is the 25-foot buffer to the top of bank is left alone. Maybe just monitored for invasives. I'm not sure. It looks pretty good on the aerial.
Joe, you said you were planting back there a little bit already. Is there an area that, I look at this and I see, Chuck, I'm just kind of spitballing here, but like the area between the 4, 3, and the 6, right in the middle, maybe it's nice to fill in that spot with one, and then, a few, right in that area. And if we can create kind of that natural, barrier, natural buffer, I think is going to help us a lot. I know you said you've been putting stuff back there. Is that represented here, or do you have like something in mind?
Oh wait, I was trying to get my bearings where the markers are in the tree.
It's right. Seems to be right in this
I
area.
don't know if this helps at all.
Yeah, so that area, that area is all either natural vegetation or, there is a lot of invasive plants that grow through there that I typically rip out to save the trees and things back there. But that's, I pretty much leave that alone and just monitor it.
And we had that project down the street, and they didn't mow a lot of the backyard, and it was really just long grass back there, and it had been many, many years. So it looked very similar to what you have back here. And the bank, is there any erosion on that bank there that you know of? When you're out there working, have you seen any of that, Joe?
Oh, I haven't seen any erosion coming up. I mean, it slopes down. Can't really tell from that picture, but that whole area kind of slopes. It hasn't really eroded since I've lived here in 5 years, that area.
All right.
All right. So what do we need to do here? I think we just need a decision on what we want planted. If there's a fit. I mean, if we said, I'm just throwing like half a dozen high bush blueberry or similar, does that make sense to everyone? Chuck, is that in line with what you were thinking? And we can kind of find spots along that zone that make the most sense. I mean, it's tough to do it from a piece of paper. I think we've got the intent of what we're looking for, and maybe high bush blueberries. We've been saying that so much, and if it's some other bush or shrub or shrubby type vegetation, I think something to create a line, and we find gaps to fill, that make sense along that alignment.
My thought is, if he's not mowing beyond the 25-foot line, and with this order of conditions, we'll be asking for bounds in that area if that's maintained, and there's no erosion. Other things will grow in. Maybe a couple of plants would be okay, but I'm not sure that I even feel like that should be part of what we're asking. So it's up to you guys. I mean, that one area looks open. Maybe a tree or two. Maybe Martha or Carl could tell us what they think. The plants.
I liked the idea of a flowering dogwood back there, but
okay,
or something ground covery like ferns or something like that might be appropriate along near the river, but maybe just a flowering dogwood.
How about if we have the homeowner actually choose something of his liking that might be something that his daughter might plant in memory of his wife. And maybe Carl can help with the choice in that.
That would work. She did like flowering dogwoods though, so that would probably be the choice right there.
Yeah, that
Right.
sounds good to me. That's great. I mean, yeah.
So I think if we could say that, look, Joe, if you find like there's something that fits. I mean, generally, we've got a list of native trees that work, and you can always kind of just talk to Chuck about what is this an equivalent? But I think if we get something like that in there, I think that's a good fit.
Okay.
Great.
So yeah, just so Joe, just so you know, I wrote down 1 flowering dogwood. It sounded like that's what we were asking, and we would want that in prior to I don't know if they call it occupancy, but at some point the building department asks for us to sign off on the pool. So you're gonna have to time that to have this plant in the ground for us to sign off so you can use your pool. Just so you know. And I think with the timing now and the permit coming in, you'll be in a really good planting season. All right. And if it somehow it's extended, so we're in the middle of the summer, we can extend that. That's not a problem, but it would be good to see it in the ground.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Anything else? And this is a notice of intent, right, Chuck?
This is a notice of intent, and yeah, feel free to, as long as we're gonna have a quorum at our next meeting, which I don't think there's gonna be an issue with that. Feel free to,
My suggestion
Do
to the
both,
commission, if
yeah.
somebody wants to make a motion, it would be to close, but we'll have Chuck prepare the order of conditions for the next meeting and can review and get it approved at that point, if that makes sense to everyone.
Okay, so can I make a motion then? To close 77 Arcadia Ave, DEP file number 270-0741.
Second,
Michael Flynn in favor?
Anika Scanlon in favor.
Martha Moore in favor.
John Sullivan in favor.
Scott Keefe in favor.
Carl Ciccone in favor.
David Jeanette in favor.
All right. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
very much. Do we need to attend the next meeting? Or is that just, if you issue the order, you're just gonna, we really don't need to be there, right?
If you don't have any comments, the commission may have comments on what I wrote, but maybe not. But if you don't have any comments, no, you don't have to be there, I would say.
Thank you, guys. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone.
All right.
Thanks.
All
Thanks.
right, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so I guess Jack's still here,
Sure.
but I mean, obviously I sent you guys the order of conditions for 1312 Main Street. I'm not sure if the chair wants to take that up next. It went out late and we'd probably have to go through it a little bit. I know that we have 44 Pearl Street, we have 1503 Main Street. I see them there. And we have Jack here for, just to resolve the order of conditions, the draft order for 1312 Main Street. So, choose what you will, Chair Flynn, and just understand
I
everyone's
think we've got Jack.
waiting.
We've got Jack here. I'm fine with doing the 1312. Chuck, I did see you sent it out. I thought I looked at it, but I'm trying to find it now.
PDF,
I know it only went a couple hours. I mean, went out a couple hours before the meeting.
couple hours, yeah, half an hour.
And now I don't know where. Shoot. I don't even have it, Chuck. I don't know what. if
It
I
was
have
with
to-
the agenda. Hold on a second.
Oh, I'm
Um,
having an issue with my email. I think that's what it is. 'Cause
Sorry,
I don't have a
yeah.
couple of the emails that you sent.
Went out today, Mike, at 6:40.
Yeah, I'm just having an issue with.
Did you look at it, Mike? And you're saying now you can't find it? So
I did
that
look at it.
it says meeting on it. Oh no, wait a minute. No, it says draft order of conditioning 1312 Main Street. I'll send it again and see if something. Just to Mike though. All right, let's see if that comes in.
So, Jack, did you have a chance to review this? Sorry. go
Thank
ahead,
you.
Jack.
I did have a chance to review it, and it looked good to me. I didn't see any changes that I could see. It looked pretty complete.
Yeah, we're just asking for, just to note that we're asking for assurances that the plantings has gone in and some feedback from whoever you choose, a professional, to tell us that these things have survived. That would be when you ask for the certificate of compliance. It usually says Form 8A, engineers signing off, as-built plan, but it also says, and a statement from qualified professional that you know, we have at least 75% survival on the planting. So there's a $5,000 bond that we're asking for. And if it sells, just a letter saying that the new owner has received the order of conditions, the as-built plan, and understands that this is in the resource area. So those might be the only new things that I know of. There's no monitoring, outside monitoring that we're asking for, anything like that. But there's a couple of situations where we're asking to be on site when you're doing things like digging, the rain garden and an as-built plan, just to make sure you have the elevations before the planting of the rain garden, before the top coat of the pavement area, and the walkways and things like that. So there's a few keep in touch type of things.
Yeah, the only thing I saw, Chuck, now that you're talking about it, on number 11, it says for 5 full growing seasons. I typically see 2 full growing seasons. Is 5 something this commission looks for?
That's relatively new with this commission. We've done it once before, but it does have to do with invasives. And when we were out there walking through that area, there is no, except for, well, there is invasives, but they need to be monitored. So there was a forest cutting plan through that area, and they wiped out the big trees, and that's probably when all the invasives came in. So it's more of an assurance that nothing's going to creep in. So yeah, we're asking for 5 years. If the commission wants to reduce that, you just make a request and see what they say. But planting, quite typically, is usually, I'm going to say 2 to 3. Invasives takes a while, as we found out when we tried to do that bigger project, and we ended up just giving up. And Japanese knotweed and others just kept coming in. And I think they had done that for 3 straight years and used some chemicals on it too. Nothing seemed to work.
Yeah, and the only reason I ask is because I think your order of conditions is good for 3 years, like the work has to be completed within 3 years. So in order to comply with the full 5 growing seasons, if they're gonna look for a certificate of compliance, they're gonna have to seek 2 one-year extensions on top of the 3 years to
So
comply with the 5.
we would make that an ongoing condition
Okay,
for the additional 2 years. And at the end, it also says that part of the bond can be kept to ensure compliance, and that's beyond the order of conditions, the certificate of compliance also.
okay,
So those kind of things went together.
So
okay,
we
that
can still
works.
issue the certificate of compliance, but it would, that would just carry over through.
Hold the bond and, it says you would hold the bond to ensure compliance with the order of conditions. And the order of conditions is asking for, after 3 years, 2 additional years of monitoring reports on the growing and whatnot. And if that didn't come, you use the bond to pay someone to do that. Now, of course, we never like to use the bond because I don't know if anyone knew this, but you have to actually get the entire amount of money out. They're not going to just give you $3.45 for like a pack of seeds or something like that. You have to get all $5,000 or $20,000 out. So it becomes quite a problem. So it's always better when things go in the way they should. So I don't know if there are any other questions.
I think the only one I had, I think the 5,000 bond makes sense to me from a number. I think it's a big project, but the amount that's actually within the 100 is not a lot. I think we've asked for larger amounts when there's significant work within the 100, significantly more work. But I mean, it seems like the right range to me. I don't know if the commission has any other thoughts.
Are you wondering if we should get more or less?
Generally, a project like, if you look at the project this size, I think this is the type of size where we could ask for more, but I don't know that it fits. I think the amount of work that's actually within our jurisdiction is probably the right amount.
Yeah, for us, it's the rain garden and a driveway area.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I always put the number in kind of as a placeholder. So yeah, you can go up or you can go down.
I don't want the commission to just kind of glance over it like, oh, that's the right number. I want us to just think about that. I think you put the right number in there, but I know you do want to leave it up to us to figure it out. So I guess unless anybody else has any thoughts. None? Okay, looks like that's it.
Okay. So we need to have a vote to issue this.
Okay. Do I hear any motions to issue?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Michael Flynn in favor?
Anika Scanlon in favor.
Martha Moore in favor.
John Sullivan in favor.
Keith in favor.
Carl Ciccone in favor.
Net in favor.
All right. Thank you, Jack.
Thanks,
Thank you
Jack.
Thank you very much. Chuck, how does the owner get the order once we get through you giving it to the town clerk? Do you send it to them by mail or will they come and pick it up?
Oh, so we don't deal with the town clerk with conservation, not like planning. I think the plans go to the town clerk somehow. So we send it out certified mail or an original copy with some instructions on it after we get it signed by the commission. And right now we're doing signature chains. So this one would be started on Monday and it probably wouldn't get back to me until Thursday or the following Monday. And then at that point, I would send it out certified mail to the applicant or yourself, if you want to tell me it's you at this moment. and then it's their responsibility to record it. That, you know, again, that's the original, and that's the copy that needs to be recorded. And at that point, it's all the pre-activity meetings and things like that, and that's the process starts from there. But it's all in that order of conditions, how to proceed. So just you would
Okay,
just
yeah.
read that.
Yep, you can just send it to the applicant certified mail. That's fine.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Take care, Jack.
All right, good night.
Thanks, Jack.
Bye-bye.
Okay, move on to the, that's not the agenda. Move on to the next item. I see Mr. Castellano's here. I think we can talk about 1503 Main Street. I'm sorry, that was just 1503 Main Street. No. I'm too many Main Streets here. Mr.
That was
Castellano, you are
1312 Main Street.
1503 Main
This
Street.
is 1503. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So I understand, Mr. Castellano, we'll get you unmuted here. Just to kind of give a recap, back in January, you came before us to talk about items that were open with the site. I think we did a site visit on, I think it was January 21st or 20th. And we came up with a list of items that we felt still needed to be addressed. I think that included getting the DEP file number installed properly, dealing with the erosion. There was some severe erosion in the driveway area. There were a stone wall, essentially, that I think you had explained to us was put there associated with some grading with the I forget exactly, but right behind one of the foundation, just behind the foundation area. And what we were looking for was either that wall wasn't originally on the plan, so either some removal of that area and regrading, or more robust planting plan, and then the resurveying of the 25-foot line and moving some erosion controls to that line. And I understand that the erosion controls have been installed. But so my understanding is you've got someone that is put an offer on the house, and you're starting in the closing process. So you're looking to get these items addressed. Is that correct?
Good evening, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you for hearing me tonight. I appreciate you guys taking the time to allow me to speak. Yeah, we met at the site, and it was we went over that long list, and every bit of it I agree with doing. It's just a matter of doing what I could during the season. So immediately after I was asked to put some erosion controls in place with more wattle socks, I did so. I had the as-built done by the engineers, and I submitted them to Chuck. In those as-builts, they also show the additional erosion control with the wattle socks throughout both house lots that were discussed, agreed upon, and we installed them. The rocks, I agreed I'll remove them. There's just no way to do any of this work while the ground is frozen. Once we had that meeting, I believe it was maybe a week or two after that, we got almost 2 feet of snow. We put the wattle socks in. We were lucky enough to get those in before the snow fell. And we're kind of at a standstill with any planting, any site work whatsoever that can be done. It's not that we don't want to do it. I haven't disagreed on one point. I agreed with the board that we would do everything that was asked. I owe the town $5,000 more for my order of conditions bond, which I will write the check the first. I happened to be out of town, and I was lucky enough to take my laptop with me. So
I just want to be clear. I think so. The $5,000 bond, that's not a new item. That was as part of the original order of conditions.
Correct.
When we issued order of conditions. That's not, I just want to make sure we're clear that that's not a new.
That's correct.
Okay.
So that's why I said I owe another $5,000. I didn't say I'm giving. I owe
No.
as part of my agreement in my permit, that I have to give that. And like I said, I'll be bringing it to the town hall first the next week when I'm back. There's really nothing I can ask other than hat in hand to say, I'll put up some additional money, another $5,000 bond to get these plantings done in the spring. There's really no benefit for me not to do it. The order of conditions is, as it's part of the closing package, as part of the PNS and the marketing material for the buyer of this second home, as it was with the front house. The people that bought that house were well aware of the issues with conservation and the order of conditions and the work that has to be continued in the spring and completed in the spring. But there's no physical way of planting anything or moving rocks or doing any site work or grading until that weather changes. You know, it's not that we don't want to do it, and it's not like I'm trying to get out from under doing it. We've got a multi-million-dollar project, 6 miles up the road in Stoneham. We've got another multi-million-dollar project of 17 homes going in Stoneham. I don't run away from projects. I don't argue with boards. I try to work with you guys, and I just want to be able to sell this home. It's not like I'm selling the home for $1.1 million and $1.1 million goes in my pocket. We owe the bank pretty much all the $1 million. So it's a matter of getting out from under the monthly interest. It's a matter of selling the home to the people that want to buy it. Finally, it was on the market for a while. And now we've got a situation where the people that are buying the house are, it's a new home for them. It's a big step. A family's moving in. They've put their house on the market and they're sold that house. And now they're looking to move into this house. So I request that I can get an occupancy permit, not a certificate of compliance. That's not what I'm asking for. I'm well aware that all the work has to be done, excuse me, approved. And like Chuck said earlier to the applicant before me, a professional has to come in and see that the plants are taking, the plants are growing, and the grass has grown, and all that stuff's been, taking. So we've hydroseeded both homes. The grass did start. So this will be a second year for that lawn. It will grow a little thicker this spring.
So, Mr. Castellan, I guess I just have a couple questions. So, planting aside, the stones and the regrading and the erosion, when would you be able to? Because I understand, in the thick of winter, it can be tough with ground freeze, but maybe I'm coming off a nice sunny day and I'm feeling like, oh, well, today was a great day to get some earthwork done. But is there really no possibility to do that work now?
Let me ask you this. If you went outside right now with your shovel, do you think you could put the shovel 8 inches into the ground?
Well, with an excavator, it's a little bit different, right? We're
planting, Mike. We're not grading major league digging and changing elevations to a point where we're digging with an excavator. We're going to be digging with a rubber tracked mini excavator that will, with a fine grading blade on the front of it, that will pick up those rocks, put them in a small dump truck, and then softly grade that back and forth. You need that dirt to be soft and workable. You can't move it in chunks of frozen earth. It's just not gonna, you can't. It's not that we don't want to do it. You just can't do it. Tell me one place you see people grading any dirt this time of year.
Oh, I work in civil engineering. We're doing all sorts of earthwork all over the place right now.
Final grading, really?
Yeah. I mean, you can't put stuff on frozen ground, but you got to treat it. People don't stop just because it's wintertime. You got to be careful, but it happens. Absolutely.
I've never, ever seen anybody doing final grading around 10 feet from a house in February, at least not in Massachusetts. Again, it's not that I'm trying not, I don't want to do it. The machines will slide all over the place. It'll make just a huge mess, and it'll do more damage than good is what it'll do.
Mr. Castellano, let's play devil's advocate for a second. If the commission were to grant occupancy, how would you complete the work?
The grading would be done and the boulders would be removed as soon as, April allows us to. We have a nice early spring and we don't get pummeled with snow, we'll be right over there. I mean, there's no benefit for us to let our money sit in bondage that we can't get it back. And it's a lot of money. We make 8 to 10% on these homes. There's not a lot of money to be made. So for us to give up or walk away from $8,000 or $10,000 is a large amount of money. It's not something we would do.
So what's on this list, Mr. Castellano? Like what ultimately is everything that still needs to be done out there?
The board, Chuck and the board has requested it to the back of the front house where the deck is built. There's one row of boulders, medium-sized boulders that have been placed on the ground just behind the septic tanks. The site guy that graded that off felt it would be beneficial to put those boulders there to hold that grade so it didn't rush a little, it didn't have that steep grade over towards the edge of the wetlands. So I figured fine, it looks good. It's nature. It's not like we're building anything there. We use the rocks that we dug out of the ground. Chuck didn't like them there. He felt they were within the 35-foot line. So he would like them taken out. So again, I'm not out to fight with anybody. We'll remove them. So that's one of the items. We went out right away and put the erosion controls, the additional water socks throughout the property where you could see on the as-built. With that being said, there's additional planting we've discussed. The trees in the front, there's some shrubbery and I forget the actual title that you call it, invasive species that will be planted in layers. There'll be trees, shrubs, and then invasive plants. I think that's the right word. Am I calling it the right word, Chuck?
Yeah.
See, I'm learning. Okay, so we'll be planting all those items. We can get you a list of those items, or maybe Chuck can provide us a list. But I asked that once, and he felt that we should get them. And so I'll have my horticulturist provide me a list of stuff.
Do we have a planting plan?
The original plan came with it, but I did sometime in the end of January. I had Thad Berry, my engineer, draw up a plan, and we submitted that as well. And there were some questions about it, so we're still kind of working on that plan. But that's for the front.
Chuck, do you have that?
I'm looking for it now.
That's actually for the front of the property, up closer to 28. So all the work will be done. It's just a matter of, the weather allowing us to do it. I've never seen anybody plant small shrubs and small trees in this dead of winter. It just doesn't work. Number one, you can't even get them from any nursery. So, we'd love to be doing it 12 months a year. We'd make a lot more money, but the winter shuts us down. Sometimes we can get a house to the point where it's buttoned up and we can work all winter long on the inside and get the plastering and the painting and the finish the plumbing done. So the schedule allows you to finish, right on time to get it done before Thanksgiving, we'll say, right? You can sell the house right as the holidays hit and it's all done. But the back house was an extensive site work. Both home sites had extensive site work with those septic systems, and to try and get contractors to show up when you need them to get this job pushed through was a task at hand because everybody's really busy right now. Well, not right now, but you know, in the season. So we had to wait our turn because we're small contractors. We don't build 30 and 40 houses at a time all the time. So we were at the mercy of everybody else's schedule, and we ran into winter. It's just the way it goes. We're not happy about it, but we're paying the interest on the loans. We're you know, holding tight to it and hoping someone would show up to buy the house. It's not always a great time to sell in the winter, as I've been forced to go through a couple of times, and this is one of them. And it took us a while to get somebody interested in the home. So now we have a valid family that can afford to live in it, that would love to live in it, and they've signed P&Ss, and here we are, you know, at a standstill because we're afraid we may lose them because of this. And they're, I'm sure, are going to be pretty upset too, because their whole plan of selling their house and moving out of it is going to be, you know, a monkey wrench thrown into that too. So believe me, there's nothing that I wouldn't do to get this done if I could do it now.
Yeah, Mr. Castellano, I'll just speak for myself here. You know, I'm not interested in holding you up for no reason. I want to see, you know, just the same standard we try to hold everybody to is a complete project. There's a lot on this list that I see, and it's not there. If it were, you know, there are projects where we get to a spot where it's just a planting, or it's, you know, there's just an inspection of invasives that we need to do, and those are cases where we allow this early occupancy, but there's work that needs to be done out there, and you know,
it's all landscape. It's all landscape work. It's not like the septic system has to be installed, or you know, lighting has to be installed. I mean, the homes have been inspected, fully signed off, fire inspections, smoke detectors, everything's done. There's nothing that I could finish that I'm not finishing. I mean, if I could do it, I would, Mike. I mean, believe me when I tell you, there's no benefit to me not to do it. Like I said earlier, would it be better if I gave a bigger bond? I'll give an additional $5,000 on top of the 10. I mean, I just don't want to lose the sale of $1,050,000 home. The house was on the market for almost 1.2 million. We took $125,000 off just to get the house, you know, accepted. So I mean, here we are, kind of flailing at this time in February, trying to get this house out, you know, trying to get out from under it, and get somebody living there that can pay town taxes for it, and have it occupied instead of it being empty. It's a worry, you know. The house is empty, no one's living in it. You always got to go there 2-3 times a week just to make sure no one's doing anything. So it's a big worry for us. There's a lot of money at stake here, and I know money isn't something you guys have to worry about. I'm not trying to make you think that, but I'm just asking that you could be a little considerate of the situation, because it's all outdoor work. It's not like anything has to be done mechanically to the homes. The driveways are completed with a finish coat.
It's the outdoor work that this commission cares about.
and I agree with you, and I care about it myself. Listen, nothing pleases me more to finish my job. But what can I do? Look out the window. I mean, I know you had a 40-degree day today, but you can't bank on that. We could get 20 inches of snow in the next 10 days. So how do you mobilize a crew and start chipping away at frozen ground? Because make no mistake, the ground's frozen, and it's frozen probably a 1.5 foot deep.
I guess I'm interested in the rest of the commission's thoughts. Dave, I know, I don't know if you have any thoughts. Martha, I know you were out there. I know you guys saw this, so.
I actually was out there. I thought that we actually had a good meeting when we were out at the site, and I know that Mr. Castellano was very receptive to all the things that members brought up, and to correct those things. And to be honest with you, I happen to agree with them about the only thing that's left is landscape work, and right now is not the time to be doing landscape work on a house. Yes, the ground is frozen. You're not, and I guess I would have to agree with him. Is he's going to do some? I know he's going to do some additional planting, which was something that he agreed to. And you know, one of the things that I'm hearing is that he's looking for a certificate of occupancy to facilitate the sale of the home, not a certificate of compliance. You know, if we still have, you know, a bond of his, and you know, I would assume that not only do we have a cash bond from him, but you know, he seems to be pretty genuine in that his word is his bond as well. That he's promised to do this work. I'm not sure whether this is something that is also written into his purchase and sale agreement. I would think that that probably would, for someone that's going to buy a home of that cost, that would be probably something that would be written into the purchase and sale, that this work was to be completed. So, I mean, I just look at this and as someone that comes from a construction background, I don't think this is a way to do business. I really don't. Reading has got a big black eye all throughout the years as a place that's very difficult to do business with. And I'm kind of thinking outside the box, just not as a member of the Conservation Commission, but as a resident of the town of Reading, that this is kind of another black eye for someone that's trying to do business with the town of Reading. You know, the projects are substantially finished. There's extensive engineering work that went into the building of these homes, and all of the you know, the drainage easements and leach fields and different things like that. And it's, you know, it's almost like we're holding up the sale of a house, beautiful home that a family can move into in the town of Reading, and it goes on the tax rolls because someone didn't paint the trim around the garage door. And I don't want to make it sound as trite as that, but that's kind of the way I'm thinking of this from someone that comes from a construction standpoint. I don't think it's, you know, I know what you're saying, Mike, about, you know, the type of work that you do, and that it's pretty, you know, it's pretty usual and customary that some site work does go on at this time of year, but you know, builders aren't out planting landscape and doing lawns this time of year. They're just not doing it. And I think to expect Mr. Castellano to be going out and planting probably aren't even available to trying to finish a project so that a sale can be effected is an unreasonable position for us to take. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah, I would get to, you know, I get the planting. It's not going to happen. I sit and I guess what I would say, Dave, is I see this as something different than the painting the trim. And in other cases, we've had this. I mean, in January, we sat and looked at this project, and we had a discussion of, does this project need an enforcement order to get it up to speed with the permit? And we decided not to. We decided to go with a proactive approach and have meetings with Mr. Castellano and get this list together and see some action. But I think that's where I come from the standpoint of, I see significant work to be done. But to your point, you know, I don't want to. That's my mindset. You know, that's what I've seen. I'm just one person on the commission, so I certainly I'd like to hear from others as well.
Michael, with response to what you just said, though, I mean, anything that I could have done since that meeting, I've done.
Yeah.
If you look at the as-built Chuck put up, all the red lines throughout the project is where I put all the additional erosion control. That's all the work I could get done. And, you know,
I mean, I know you put in erosion controls. We still don't have the bond that was supposed to be submitted at the beginning of this project.
Right.
We've had conversations about the DB file number sign. Like,
Yeah.
there are activities that you could be doing out there that have not been done.
The sign blows down every 2 weeks. I put it back up. I mean, it happens on other projects. I'll put it back up again if it blows down. I mean, what can I do? So
Mr. Castellano, can I ask about the stormwater infiltrator next to the driveway? Have you protected that inlet?
Yes, I have. I did, just like I told you I would do. I protected it with wattle socks. We staked in some wattle
Is there
socks.
any filter? Okay, it's because, you know, sort of, you know, that's another structural point that may have to get adjusted.
Nothing can get to it. We barricaded it with the wattle socks, as we discussed in person that day.
Okay, but in terms of getting it to a final, you know, a final solution, you know, those wattle stalks aren't going to stay there forever. I mean, I just want to say that, you know, from my standpoint, I do agree that the list is long and there are enough bigger issues on that list, in my opinion, to put some pause here. And I do hear Mr. Panette's opinion too, because I've heard that. I've heard, you know, I've heard and seen from business owners challenges in the town. You know, I do know some of them and I understand some of the challenges they've experienced. But this project, it's at this point right now. And I know, I mean, the weather today is not your fault. It's not my fault. It's just where we're at. You know, and we can't, I don't think I should sort of say, oh no, everything's gonna, yeah, I don't see, like, based on what Mike was saying, that enforcement order decision earlier, you know, coming from that place to here, it gives me some reason to kind of ask myself, you know, how is this going to go forward? And I do believe your earnestness and I believe your drive. And I see strongly you're advocating for yourself and your work. And I think you've got good cause to do that because they're beautiful houses. But I just want to see the work finished.
I want to see it finished, but
so that's my piece.
But with respect to that, we're reiterating the same statements. We all want to see it finished. The work cannot be done in this weather condition. So we're going to hold up $1 million sale of a house for maybe a week's worth of landscape planting, cleaning up that little basin, removing all the wattle socks, rehydroseeding some bald spots. I mean, it just doesn't seem reasonable to me as a businessman that a board would stand in front of $1 million sale of a home for an occupancy permit if I'm willing to put up a bit additional bond money. I mean, it just makes no sense to me. But I mean, I've seen crazier things, so I have to, you know, just come here hat in hand and beg for a little common sense. That's all. It makes all the sense in the world that this work cannot be done in February. It cannot be done until the ground thaws. This isn't big construction. I'm not sure what you do, Mike Flynn. I'm not sure what type of big construction you're involved in. You said you're involved in construction, you're an engineer. I mean, I don't know if you're working on high-rise construction in Boston, but I'm not sure. I just don't see it. I don't see it being done. This small micro work, because most of the planting is handwork. I mean, how do you plant trees and shrubs in the winter? They don't take.
So let me, I just want to interject some stuff. It's not only the Conservation Commission that is holding off. Building department, the engineering department, they're all holding off. There's been, miscommunication, promises to get it done, promises to send things from all the rest of the boards too. Most of that I learned when we were signing off on Lot A, and the boards and the departments, they ended up signing off, and the commission ended up signing off. But at that meeting, my recollection is everyone told Mr. Castellano that we're doing this because there's another house that has some leverage in it that we would, use to get these things done. And he understood that as far as I was concerned at the last meeting.
I'll be honest with you, I don't think
I just think that the one,
anything-
Jim, hold on a second there. I just think the one thing that's pretty clear is like some things could have been done and some things can't be done, but I didn't see even the sign, if it blows off every 2 weeks, if I would have got a better sign, I would have, it just, I get what you're saying is that, someone's there. I mean, I don't know where you are and who's coming over to do stuff, but there's been opportunity. We met a month and a half ago, and in a month and a half, the only thing that's happened is the sign's blown off the pole 3 or 4 times. And the rest of the work has been, some as-built plans.
But the rest of the work can't be done, Chuck. So what else can I do? I mean, you're saying the engineering department's waiting for things. That's incorrect. I mean, I'd like you to present something that says that. The engineering.
So there was never a review of the stormwater structure prior to it to being closed up. And they accepted the fact that you said that you tried to email them.
We didn't try. They said that I can have John Iola from Iovino Excavation actually met in person with the engineer at each of those drainage systems. We went through all that. You're bringing stuff up that we cleared up. They got the pictures, they got the emails, and they signed off.
That's what this happened when we first started talking about Lot A. You're right. I haven't talked to anyone about this project since then, but that was the sense of it. And
so you're saying something that it's the sense of it. Chuck, you're talking about $1 million here. And
I'm saying something that I knew to be true when we talked about Lot A.
We got all that to them, and that's why they did sign off.
Well, I don't know anything about that because no one updated me. The fact that you've been signed off with the engineering departments. So let's find out. What do you have from the engineering department that shows that you've been signed off?
I have nothing with me right now. I have nothing. But
okay, so we'll just leave it out there.
So next week I plan on going to and getting I have a meeting, what do you call it? The appointment for the building department, come out, walk the house. I had Captain Nelson come out and walk the house last week, and he signed off on that as well for the smoke detectors. What's his name? Bob Morocco, the electrical inspector, signed off on the house. I mean, everything is pretty much done. There's a couple items that are, kind of academic that get done, but the main issue here is you people want work done that can't be done. And it's a shame that you're gonna cause me to lose this sale, but there's really, I can say as much, I can repeat it as many times as
I know. I just, I gotta take, I need to protect my commission and my job and all that. We're talking about you not doing what you showed us on an approved plan. You went off the plan, you put in a retaining wall. That retaining wall, the whole thing wasn't on the plan. Hold on, Jim. The whole thing wasn't on the plan, okay? We've narrowed that down to just asking you to remove the part that's in the 35 foot, okay? So for you to say, oh, commission, you're unreasonable, we're working with someone who's not, came in, gave us an order of conditions, we approved a plan, and you're not following the plan, and then you turn around and say to the commission, we're unreasonable. I just take offense at that.
Well, I
mean,
don't mean it to be offensive, but I just look at it, sometimes because you're reasonable on one thing doesn't mean you're not unreasonable on another. $1 million sale to be held back or cause the people to go buy somewhere else because there's a row of boulders. It's not like we built a wall. We put one boulder after another to hold back dirt because the professional excavation crew that I had on site felt that that was the best application. We didn't bring in the boulders. We didn't buy rock. We didn't put block. We dug those rocks out of the ground when we put the system in, and we held back some dirt. And I agreed to remove them. But again, that work can't be done until the ground thaws. I mean, I'm just repeating the same stuff. We're not looking to get out from under doing the work. I mean, it's just.
So it's the end of February now. We're within a week of the end of February. When do you expect the ground will be thawed? By the end of March? Would you be able to get this done by the second meeting in March, or will you need into April before it can be done?
I don't have a crystal ball as to the weather. I mean, I've seen us have 15-inch snowstorms in the middle of April. I've lived in New England, in Wilmington, Massachusetts, my entire life. I don't know where you people have lived most of your lives, but New England, you can't predict the weather at least through April. I don't know what's going to happen in March. We've had some of our snowiest seasons in the month of March. So
I would just add one thing. I mean, I'm in the landscape construction field. I mean, it's not so much the snow that is the worry, it's the cold. So to me, the sun's out for longer. It's going to be in the 40s all next week, 50 on Sunday. To me, 2 to 3 weeks, you'd be safe to be able to excavate if that was me. But just to give maybe if that's helpful. But
plant shrubs?
No, remove the wall. Remove the wall.
We could remove the boulders quicker, but I mean, it doesn't get us any closer to finishing to mobilize one machine over there and slip and slide in the mud. I mean, I'll do whatever you guys want.
So
but I mean,
you're thinking that you really will need to allow till the end of April before you're sure you'd be able to get in there and do
Yeah,
that.
or Martha, that would be into May then if worried about mud.
I think if the weather, again, the statement starts with, if weather permits us to do it, if we get a warm March and a warm April, we'll get in there and do it. But we have to mobilize a crew. We have to, you guys act like we're taking a pencil and we're erasing something that's on a piece of paper. This is real construction. You got to go out there and do it. It's small construction, but it's very close to the wetlands. I don't want to have machines that are going to start sliding down into it if it's mucky. I mean, I just want to do it right, and I want to do it once. That's really the only way to do it correctly.
But you understand, now we're talking about an operation that you're concerned about mud and the conditions, and I mean, it doesn't seem small. Now it seems like you've got a project, and this is why there's concern here. I do want to take planting off the table. I get the idea of plant, like right. This is not the time to plant. We're not in that time of year. We've made exceptions in those cases, but this is not just you need to plant a couple trees and lay some grass seed down.
Removing the rocks is a 3-hour job, but it will be very messy doing it in a muddy spring. I mean, it's just.
So the action might actually be better to do it now. If the boulders can be broken up and loosened up, the ground's frozen, you might not even hide your seed in the ground. If anything, the April will be probably worse, right? If anything. So.
If that's what you want me to do, if that's what you want me to do, to go over there and do it piece by piece, you want me to send a piece of equipment, a dump truck, and a few guys over there tomorrow to remove the boulders? I'll try. I'll do my best to accommodate you. But I mean, I don't think that gets us where we want to be, or where you want to be.
It's going to be a separate dump truck with or another truck to grade. So it's really, it's its own line item is truck and excavator removal, right? If I'm wrong, but then plants are a third line item, a separate truck and separate company.
But I don't think we're gonna be able to grade it. So it's nice in this weather. I just don't think it's gonna take. Then it's gonna be all fresh, disturbed dirt. And all of a sudden we get a big rainstorm in the middle of March, and you're gonna have all the mud and slop running down into the wetlands again. And then I'm gonna get in trouble for that too. I mean, I just, there's only one way to do it, and it's the right way. To go in there and muck around with it and try to create a situation where so I can prove myself to all of you. I'll do my best, but I think it's a mistake, because you're going to disturb all that fresh dirt instead of it being all locked together nice and tight right now. And we're going to put fresh dirt there, and we're going to soften it all up. And then we get 3 days of rain, because you know it's going to wash against the wattle sock and possibly wash over it.
Okay, so I don't know. I guess I'm at a loss.
When's the closing, Jim?
It honestly doesn't seem like I'm going to have one. I mean, they're hoping to close in 2 weeks. I mean, I'm willing to post up more money. Believe me, I'm not a wealthy man where I can just keep tossing 5,000 and 10,000 around. I don't want you to think it's just easy for me to do. It's a lot of money. I'm willing to post it up.
And Jim, I don't want you to think that this commission is just in the business of like, well, yeah, we'll take the money and that makes us feel better about it.
I'm just trying to give you something to hold on to so you feel confident in knowing that I'm going to continue to finish this work. But I really, really ask that you let me do it the right way, because it is something I know what I'm talking about. That is going to be a mess. And the rainstorm we get after it all is going to be all in the wetlands, and Chuck's going to come down there and want to beat me with a stick, because it's going to be a mess.
So Chuck, I don't have enough experience to answer the question. Is that a good alternative? Does that make everyone happy?
Can you repeat the alternative? What I just heard about me beating someone.
A larger bond.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what's going to make this work. It seems like,
I'm sorry, one more thing. In my mind, if we're just, because I'm Mr. Castellano, I feel like I'm trying to play devil's advocate here. If we're going to talk about erosion, mud, and rain in spring, then we're talking June 20th as far as I'm concerned. So I don't know.
No, I don't think so, because once it's warm enough, we can put hay on it and we can hold it down. But when you get this cold and you get these drastic temperature changes, it's going to be a mess. I really don't want to do that. I don't want to take the chance of creating 10 times the work, 10 times the mess. I don't know. I know you don't know me, and I don't expect you to say, believe me, and you guys believe me, but by God, there's no benefit for me to lie to you guys, and just because I don't want to do the work. I believe me, I want to do it, but I don't want to do it and make such a mess, because that's what I foresee happening if I start messing around with that too early in spring.
So I still haven't heard the plan of what you're actually going to do. And, I asked for, is it March, is it April? And I got lots of words back. What I'm looking for is, once the weather is warm enough that you can do it, what are you actually planning to do that we're going to be, if we take a extra $5,000 bond, what are you promising to give us at the end of that bond that we can give you the bond back?
Every bit of the work that's on the order of conditions, every bit of work that we've discussed about removing the boulders, grading that softly so we can get the dirt to stay in place. We'll hydroseed it, we'll put some hay on it. There's some other devices that'll hold that we can tack into the ground to hold that. We're going to clean out that catch basin, remove the wattle socks so the water can flow. I mean, and if I could say I can start that April 1st, if it's not snowing and the weather's going to allow us, we'll be in there April 1st. And then, you know what? If it happens to be that if we could look at the forecast and we see 5 or 6 days in the 50s in March, we'll do it then. We'll mobilize a crew and get right in there. The Ivino crew is a professional crew. They've done a lot of work around Reading, Stoneham, Bedford, Wilmington for years. They're a very good crew. They're well aware of what's going on, what hasn't been done. They're well aware of those boulders that they put there were not something that the board and Chuck is pleased with. I made them fully aware of that. And they said, Jim, when you tell us to go there and remove it, we'll go there and clean it up. We'll get it out of there. But they're the ones reiterating to me that please don't make us go over there and make a damn mess that we have, 5 times the work to do to clean it up. So in a short answer to you, we will be in there towards the end of March if weather allows it, and we will be expeditious in moving through line items to get this to a 100% completion.
So the excavating will be done in, let's say, late March, and the plantings will be done in May?
I would say mid-April if it doesn't snow. If we get an early spring, I mean, we can plant. I deal with Bedford Nursery. They're a very, very strong nursery. They have a lot of stock. They have a lot of capacity. They can get stuff to me quickly. They can get stuff to me early. I just don't want to be out there trying to plant it in frozen ground. I think once the 2nd and 3rd week of March comes and we get some nice warm weather like we had today, we're going to be able to go out there and plant some stuff and get it all done. And then, tidy it up and make it pretty towards the middle of April.
And the hydro seeding would go in?
Hydro seeding's been done, and I could email Chuck photos of the grass when it was taken. The hydro seeding will be done as a secondary layer, but you'd be surprised the grass grew pretty strongly on both homes. So I think the grass is going to look great come the end of April once that sun starts to hit it and the warm weather allows it to stand up again. I think it's going to grow. So we're just going to hit it again with a fertilizer and a mix of hydro seed with it. That's going to give it a nice hardy layer so it thickens up.
And if you were able to have a closing on this house, you're hoping to get an occupancy permit in time for the closing? Is that the plan here?
I'd like to, yeah. I mean,
And you're hoping to do the closing when?
Within I think it's 2 weeks from now. I think it's maybe the 17th of March. I think that number rings a bell for some reason. I think it's the 17th. We may be well on our way to getting some of this stuff accomplished by that closing, if the weather stays the way it was today. If we get a stretch of this, everybody's aware of what has to be done, so.
So, Mr. Castellano, with that in mind, what, I know you're going through this process, what's the day that I mean, I think we signed, it was New Year's Eve that I think I got the call from Chuck about the last one, and I think the closing was happening that day. When do you need a occupancy, understanding where the commission's at today and understanding where you're at, when, I think this commission, at least I'm hearing from those that are speaking, Dave, I think I've heard a differing opinion from you, but I've heard otherwise. I think we're looking for more work, not planting, but more work. I guess, when do you need an occupancy by for a closing? I mean, is this something that we've got 2 weeks and we can look at this again because the closing's not till
I don't think so.
March 13th?
I don't think,
17th, and at that point we can, we can see like, well, you had opportunities days to do that work, and we really wanted to see you get out there and not. And again, I want to stress that doesn't include planting, but there's other items out there that could be handled if we had a warm stretch.
I understand. To answer that question, I think the lawyers are involved when it comes to that timelines, and for them to have occupancy permit less than a week. The closing is March 4th. My wife just showed it to me on her computer. So the lawyers are going to be looking for an occupancy permit sometime by the end of next week. Or I have to tell them. I can't let these people, their financing has to go through. I mean, I can't tell these people everything's great, don't worry about it, keep moving along. I have to tell them as soon as I know, I'm either gonna get this or I'm not. And then I got to face the music with them. So I don't know if they're going to try and sue me for specific performance for me not being able to perform. So I don't
Jim,
know.
you could have mentioned this to those people when we had our first meeting back in January. You were the one that decided not to let them know that the commission said we have reservations about signing off on this permit.
I didn't know these people in January. These people just showed up.
Whenever you show up, but we had given you the information in January. If you didn't know them in January, that just proves my point that you had an opportunity to come clean with them and let them know that the commission had reservations about this.
What do you mean come clean? Chuck, you make everything seem to be so deceitful. I should have come clean with them. They know, their attorneys are well aware of the order of conditions.
Did you let them know what, so in the order of conditions.
Let me finish what I was saying. So they're well aware of all the order of conditions and the incomplete work that's not done. And they know their attorneys are real estate attorneys. They ask the question, are you going to be able to get us an occupancy permit with this incomplete work before us? And I said, as funny as you ask, we're working on getting that. So,
so they're well aware it's up in the air.
Exactly.
All right. So there is no real deadline. You're just doing your best to
Chuck,
make this move forward. I mean, this is what I'm hearing.
No, you're hearing things and you misunderstand them, or you just don't know about.
No, I'm not. It sounds like they're fully aware that this is not a done deal. And so there is no closing. There's a hopeful date, but it's not written in stone.
When someone goes to and gets financing from a bank, they give them a timeline. They have this much time.
Yeah, I know that.
For the bank rate to be valid. All right. So they have from this date to close by March 4th. And if we can't close, then they don't buy the house. There's no deceit here. You make it sound like it's so sneaky. I mean, I don't understand you.
I like that. I love it when you say that. Hey, so no, what I'm saying is that what I've been able to get out of what you've said is that there is the closing attorney and your attorney understand that the town has reservations about giving occupancy. So that's clearly good news.
That's good news?
Yeah.
I don't think it's good news. I'm hoping to get an.
Well, I just want to make sure that the buyers understand that it's not it's not set in stone that the commission will sign the occupancy permit. You've let them know that that's up in the air.
Yeah, to a degree. I let the attorneys have to let them know that. Yeah. I mean, but I didn't tell them we're not going to get it. I just said, we're working on it because that's what we are doing.
Yep.
And I'm hoping to, work through this with you in the board and give you a level of comfort. But like I said, maybe a larger bond and hopefully I can get you to believe that I'm going to do this work. I mean, I don't understand what makes you think I wouldn't. It's disappointing. I mean, it sounds like you guys have been burnt in the past and I feel badly about that, but
it's not, this is how I see it. And so you can, I don't know how the commission feels, but this is how I see it. And I pretty much run the kind of like on-site thing. I try to let everybody know that we are going to need a final, and occupancy is always an issue. So don't come to us the last minute. And I feel like, you know, you were told, you were not warned, but it was brought up every time I met you. And then we said it just in last January. I mean, I was okay with you not getting any of the work done, because if you didn't sell the house, you'd have as much time as you needed.
Exactly.
If that sat there,
Exactly. So
you
we're
could
not,
take until April, but all of a sudden it's sold, or people are very interested and they want to know when they can get in. And now it becomes the commission's issue, and we're the bad guys because
no one's asking you to be the
you know, because you got a little bit of, you know, luck and someone wanted the house. It's a great house. I think that it's in a great situation. And if these guys want to walk away from it, my personal opinion, you'll get more from the next people.
I mean,
So
that's a good.
it's a great house. It's a great
That's your
location.
opinion.
I mean,
But I mean, I'm just trying to run my business appropriately, take the buyers as they come.
Yeah.
But no one's trying to do anything last minute. It just happened. So a buyer showed up, and that's why we're back where we are. But I mean, it's not like I'm pushing for winter. Here we are in the third week in February, and someone's showed up to buy the house. It's not like I showed up and asking anyone to do anything last minute. Believe me. I mean, if I could get this work done, I would do it. But it's winter. I've had a little luck at this point that someone showed up to buy the house, because I gave the house such a large price reduction because I want to get out from under it. And I mean, that's just what I do. This is what we do. We build the house. We try to sell it as quick as we can. That's how we make money. I mean, paying long-term interest is not going to benefit me. I'm not saying you guys are being bad guys. I'm not asking you to, to bend over backwards. I'm asking you to help me out and take a larger bond if that makes you comfortable, and hold on to the certificate of compliance. And that is all going to be part of the buyer's documentation. They're going to know that. And it's just like we did on the front house. The buyers that bought that house, they know that. That's on their documentation. And they may even have a holdback. I don't recall that they do. Do they? We even gave them a holdback to buy the house, so they have money held back on us. So we want to get the work done, Chuck, but there's nothing we can do until the weather allows us to.
well, moving forward is up to the commission, but I will remind you that within the order of conditions, it does ask that you provide the Conservation Commission, and whether they say yes or no to the occupancy, before we sign, I am going to require that I get that piece of paper saying that they understand that this house is under an order of conditions and they've received a copy of it.
Absolutely.
It's like one of the last couple lines of the orders of condition.
Do you mean the buyers? Is that what you're saying?
The buyers, yeah.
Absolutely. They'll
It's
sign.
a buyer's statement.
Yeah, they're going to sign an affidavit from their attorney, my attorney, and it'll be notarized that they're well aware of all of this. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's in the order of conditions. So just have that ready.
Yep. They already
prior to you actually receiving the signature for the occupancy, whenever that happens.
I believe it's already signed from them, so I can get a copy of that to you hopefully tomorrow from my attorney.
Yeah, both lots or just
both.
Great.
We gave you the one for the front lot. We already provided that because that's why you gave me the occupancy for that one. So we're going to have the back house as part of their P&S. They sign that letter, understanding what work has to be done, the order of conditions. The entire document is in that, and they sign it.
Okay. I see that Mike wants to bring this all together.
Yeah, so I think we need to pass forward, and I think this is at this point, I think we just need the commission to try to, whether it's a vote or come to agreement of we're satisfied with where it's at today, or there are items that we think need to be dealt with before occupancy is taken. I mean, I think I've kind of already put out where I think I stand on this, but I think at this point we're at a vote, if that makes sense, because I'm not sure. I want to have a path forward. I think we've talked this in circles at this point. I think we need to just make some decisions. So, I think we've talked through a list here of items, and my take is that, consistent with what we've done in the past, I would not provide occupancy until the original bond has been received, the severe erosion is dealt, and the rocks have been addressed. I'm not looking for planting at this time, or the reseeding, but I'd like to see those items addressed before occupancy is provided. To me, that fits within the intent of the permit. I think that allows an understanding of, like, this is not the time or the season to plant, and that we've got bonds and protections on the planting and the growth, and those go beyond the order of conditions and occupancy anyways. But there's activities that have been identified that are not consistent with the permit that I'd like to see done before an occupancy is prepared.
So you'd like to see, just so I'm clear, Mike, you'd like to see the boulders removed, because first was the erosion control, and I've solved that. All the water socks are in place, and it's actually documented on my as-built that I've submitted. So that the erosion control has been solved, as it is now. You want me to remove the boulders and drop off the $5,000 check?
That's what I have on my list. Those are the items that I'm concerned about prior to occupancy.
So if I get those three things done this weekend.
Hold on, Jim, because I want to open that up to the committee. I'm not I don't make this decision in a box.
No, but I'm just
I
trying
want
to
the commission to make.
Well, Mike, did you mean, you said the erosion? Do you mean the erosion that's in the lawn? Like the gullies and all that? Or you mean the erosion control?
I mean the erosion controls, right?
Okay.
I don't think we're going to be able to handle to me, that those gullies and those are items that can be dealt with the planting and the landscaping and the seeding. That is best dealt with when we are at full thaw, when the season is correct.
Okay.
Martha, Dave, anybody really? You guys have thoughts?
I think at this point, one of the major sticking points here is the rocks, and I would have to agree that the rocks is something that probably could be done now, to remove those and rebate those back to the line that has been requested. And I think if those rocks were rebated back to the line that was requested, and obviously the money that was supposed to be paid in the past that hasn't been paid, and then if there's again an additional amount of money that's offered, I think if that actually is able to be accomplished, I think that we should move forward and grant the certificate of occupancy with the work expected to be done as soon as the weather breaks in remainderment.
Yeah, Dave, I think that's consistent with what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just go ahead and second the two of you. I mean, seems like the other issues can wait until we're ready, but if that's, so by second.
No, then I guess we'll just put that to the vote then. Michael Flynn in favor.
Anika Scanlon in favor.
Martha Moore in favor.
John? Oh, sorry.
Muted, John.
Go ahead.
John Sullivan in favor.
When you came back in, you probably lost your rights.
I deserve it.
In favor.
Carl Sacconi in favor.
David Pinette in favor.
All right.
Let me just make sure that we have the list. The rocks will be moved back to the 35-foot line. There is an egress component to this too, but it seems like that wasn't discussed. So I'm sure whatever happens to the back steps can either be put off or will happen during this move with the rocks. The erosion control will be also complete. The DEP sign will be put up permanently so it doesn't get blown down. The bond will be paid, just the $5,000 that was owed at the beginning of this project. And then I think I understand what you were saying about and the rest of the work in the future. But I think it's important to list the rest of the work out and have a schedule of when that's going to be completed. So if the commission could modify their vote to include the sign, the potential work on the back egress, and then a schedule with dates for the completion of the work and then a list of the rest of the work that needs to be done. That would be great.
I think just to be careful, you'd have to give, if you gave a date certain, it would have to be probably the 15th of June, because you just can't tell what the spring is going to bring. So,
well, I think that's what we're talking about at this point. We're giving occupancy, and then we're getting down to the pressure's off Jim, the pressure's off the homeowners. It would be really up to the homeowners to push to get, the certificate of compliance before that. So yeah, I would accept what Jim thinks would be reasonable to get the rest of the work done as long as it's on a schedule, because I think it's important to have that document in case, he doesn't do it by then or it's not done at all. So we've identified what needs to be done. We've agreed on it, and there was a date, and then we went past that. That kind of stuff helps us deliberate and actually exercise the bond.
agreed. So is that amenable to everyone to use June 15th as a date?
Makes sense to me based on everything that we heard today.
Yeah.
How is that, Mr. Castellano?
I think June 15th is very generous. I think it's a big enough window to get this done.
Okay.
Thank you.
When it rains 15 inches in April, don't come back and say, Jeanette, you said June 15th. Look what you got me into.
No, we'll be fine. That gives us more than enough time. June 15th is very generous.
Okay.
And June 15th is a full week before our second June meeting. So you have plenty of time to submit it to Chuck to prove that it's been done before we have to vote anything. We have to vote.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think this is really important that you keep us in the loop. Even if you don't hear back from us, send emails. We're working on this today. My guy's working on this today. We finished this up. Come down and check it. I think that email chain will be important for the commission to see. It's tough with COVID, whether you're in the office, not in the office, on site or not. So I'm just saying, protect yourself by keep sending those emails in. This whole commission goes out and looks. They're all very good at filling in when needed. So if you just let us know that things are happening, or we should verify something that it got done, we'll have someone check it out.
Absolutely.
Chuck, can I make one other point? I know there's been two different things discussed. There's been a discussion of moving and removing those stones. I guess if I would to look just from a construction standpoint, I would I would move those rocks so that they're at the 35 or outside the 35-foot line, not remove those. Is that kind of what everyone else is thinking as well?
You know, I didn't want to design his project, but when we were there, I said you could actually bring it back to the 35-foot line and then just send it over towards the foundation of the house.
Right.
And you're outside the 35-foot line. But, you know, I don't think Jim was there. So
Yeah.
anyways, there's things that can happen.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, you want to be outside the 35-foot line with these rocks.
Right.
Now, you're talking about the rocks that are closest to the rear deck, right?
Right.
Chuck? Okay, I
Right.
just want to make sure that's the row of rocks that are in the discussion. Okay.
Yeah, it's only about 5 feet off the foundation, heading away from the house,
Right.
that it crosses the 35-foot line. So the rocks go past the foundation and in back of the house and past the back basement door. All that needs to be removed. It's about 10 feet from the back over there. But Dave's saying what you could do is just, you know, obviously you have this higher elevation. You need to protect that. You could just drive them in above the 35-foot line and angle them towards the foundation.
Okay.
All right, do we need to vote on as amended?
Yeah, you do need to vote. You need to.
So I'd hear a second to Dave's amendment.
I'll second it.
Michael Flynn in favor.
Anika Scanlon in favor.
Johnny there.
Did I say in favor already?
Oh, Martha, sorry, sorry, Martha, John.
John Sullivan in
I
favor.
thought you froze. I thought you froze again.
Scott Keith in favor.
Carl Ciccone in favor.
David Pennant in favor.
All right. All right. Thank you, Mr. Castellano.
Thank you all. And
Yeah.
Believe me, this work will get done as soon as we can get it done. But I appreciate you working with me to build this, this list for me to get my occupancy permit. It means a great deal to me.
Sure. Okay, Jim, and just, I'll let you know that the town hall is open Monday through Thursday at 7 o'clock in the morning. Kim, you know, Kim,
Yep.
she will accept that check and, you know, because my hour, she's early in there earlier than I am.
I'll be there first thing, 7 o'clock on Monday with that $5,000.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
All right. Martha, I think were you able to attend the town forest committee meeting was it last week or 2 weeks ago? I've lost track of time.
I don't remember the date, but I did go on the Zoom meeting and stayed for the discussion of the dying red pines in the town forest. I don't remember a lot of the details, but they were basically reviewing the walk that was done before our previous meeting and debating which stand of trees to tackle first. They were hoping that they might be able to get some grant money that would be provided by the state, I think, that would help them with the cost of that. There was some question about how close to the wetlands they can actually work and remove the dead pines. And I didn't have an answer for them other than I was sure it was at least 25 feet back from the edge of the wetland and that they should really consult with Chuck or the commission for the answers to that question. And they were also talking about whether they would need to remove the entire tree when trees were cut down, or whether they could leave 10-foot snags in some areas and leave the fallen logs on the ground in some areas. So there was some conversation about that would be open for further discussion when they got into details about actually taking the trees down. And then the next thing on the agenda was discussing the tree policy that we have made with the DPW, and the impact of that on any trails in the town forest that they might be concerned about. So that's all I can remember at this point about the meeting.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, I think the setbacks was our 25-foot line, the 35-foot no disturb for structures, but really what we're doing is we're following the forest cutting plan, and most of their limitations had to do with vernal pool habitat, which brought it back to like the 50-foot line. So those were what they were encountering. Now, if there's no, I think the commission on this next round is going to be asked, can they take some of those trees out closer to the resource area in that 25-foot, in that 35-foot? You know, why are those being saved? So I think that's going to come up. I mean, they're not looking to do this maybe next January, you know, and so they're going to come back to the commission. They're thinking, Bill Sullivan, who's the chair of the town forest committee, he was thinking like in like July, maybe we'll keep in touch. And Martha, did they ask you did they let you know that they'll contact you the next time they talk about this, or it's on the agenda?
I don't think that question came up. I didn't stay for the end of their meeting, so I kind of thanked them and left before they might have expected me to. There was website conversations and stuff I didn't think I needed to stay for.
Sure. I think it would be a good idea. I don't know if you have the time to keep monitoring that situation, but it's a way for them to ensure the communication with the Conservation Commission. And Bill thought that was a great idea to, you know, if we have someone there, it's easier than, oh yeah, let's make sure to loop in the Conservation Commission. So I'll just reach out to him and just let him know to just try to keep us in anything that comes up when they're discussing that. And I'll get that information to you.
Now, if I'm available, I'd be happy to attend as many meetings as I can.
Yeah, and Mike's already said he'll do it if you can't.
Okay. I just don't want to be the one giving answers on the spot of what, you know, like when they were saying, how close can we get to the wetland? I said, well, I'm sure it's at least 25 feet, but it could be further. And, you know, don't quote me on that.
No, and
you know our
wanna,
regulations are like 25 pages. If it was written like single space, it would be 10 pages. I think everyone should read them before our next meeting. I mean, it has all that information in it. So,
but you're better off not trying to give, you know, it gives them, you know, a certainty if you don't feel comfortable with it, and say,
yeah,
here's what I have, and you know, but we can discuss it further with Chuck or the commission. So
there is a lot of overlapping regulatory committee on that.
Yeah.
So, but they do look. They do say, hey, can we do this and can we not do that? I always refer to our regulations. I mean, I could be overridden by, you know, the forest cutting plan, but for me, in a meeting, I'll just talk about our regulations. You know, that's where we stand, and that's what I know. I mean, there's other considerations. We're not supposed to be experts on everything, but so anyways, that's all. Okay, that's great. I think yeah, they're excited to cut down all those trees in town forest. I mean, it's,
Oh, and there was a discussion of what kind of replanting would go in there. And one of their questions was, could they have some places where the trees were cut down be more open habitat like bare meadow rather than be all replanted in forest? So that was a question they were exploring.
yeah, hopefully those spots will be outside the 100-foot area, and then they can do what they want. Yeah, they're working with a forester. So Phil Benjamin, he's from the Cape or somewhere near the Cape. So he would be able to help them with any of those questions and develop a plan to bring to the commission and to send in to DCR.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Chuck, I meant to do this for the update. 445 Pearl Street. Mr. Rivers. So I think you had sent me this before. I think this was one of the other emails that I went to see. So he's been unable to get a consultant on board.
Yeah, he just says that Mary Rimmer won't return his phone calls, which, you know, I work with Mary. I'm not saying like we're colleagues or anything like that, but she was part of the consultants that came into Boxford every once in a while, and she seemed to be highly professional. I would say that she's either on vacation, like he mentioned, or, you know, I don't know what the other problem would be, just returning a phone call. So the problem is that, you know, at the last meeting, I kind of expected him to have the consultant. So I started a little bit early, and last week I sent him an email and I asked him, you know, how is he doing getting a hold of a consultant? The commission will be looking for that. And then I contacted him twice this week, and I asked him, and he finally said tonight that he still hasn't been able to get a hold of Mary. And I said, well, why don't you come on in and tell the commission what, you know, about your troubles finding a consultant and the problems that you're having. I just don't want this to be delayed. And I let him know that this was the deadline that the commission kind of set out there. So we've given him 2 weeks to kind of like understand the situation, to get a consultant, to start, you know, getting his head around that this actually needs to be fixed. And there was a problem that he did and that he needs to fix out there. So now we're at this point where he's not at the meeting, and
well, it's been a month, right? It's been more than 2 weeks. I think we had asked for that at last meeting, 2 weeks, and gave a look. You know, maybe those 2 weeks was too quick, but now it's been a month over a month that this has happened. Over a month since, you know, he's been to 2 meetings now in a row. You know, we had been to 2 meetings prior to this. So I mean, it is the best way to move forward. And so we didn't issue an enforcement order when we originally did this. We asked him to get a consultant, come to the meeting, present, you know, hopefully the consultant could present a plan. At this point, we haven't been presented with a plan. I think, you know, is providing an enforcement order the best way to set schedules and make sure we see actions and steps taken.
well, right. I mean, it also helps us defend our position. And I think that's probably more or less what we're really looking at, because people are either going to fix these things right away and understand it, or it's going to become a battle. So the next step is the enforcement order with some, you know, some dates on it to have things completed, and we'll see what happens with that. But there'll be a couple more meetings before we can actually do anything, and then we'll be at a point where fines will be issued.
So I think though the step, like you said, to kind of present. I think the step though tonight would be to issue the enforcement order. That doesn't mean we're finding, that doesn't mean we're putting out there that something has happened out there that's wrong. We need to see, we can set dates for at least communication, correct? Step forward, and then we can deal with the rest.
I think what
as we see action.
A good idea would be to, there's a lot of, everyone has a lot of experience in, what they saw, what they know, and, so I'll write the order of conditions, I'll send it out to the commission, and, you can make comments on it, and, just make sure you send it back to me individually. And then we can discuss it at the next meeting. And again, what the enforcement order sets up, what would happen if you had to go to Superior Court. So you really have to think about it that way. I'm not saying I'm the best at it. You just, but that's, so everybody just remember that when we're looking at it. Does this make sense? Have we kind of framed this in a way that sets the stage for defending our position, So I'll throw that together. I would expect it. I'm not going to actually throw it together, but late next week it'll probably be finished up, and then we'll send it out, and then you guys can get it over the weekend, and we'll be discussing it at our next meeting.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Chuck. Conservation DPW monthly meeting. So we had a meeting in mid-February, our second meeting in mid-February. I think that was after our last meeting. I had a mess of a February, so I didn't get myself together and get one of you guys involved. I will be looking to do that in March. I know, Martha, I asked you. I think you had another commitment. But I'll talk to somebody else about that. But
it's going to be a 1 o'clock on the second Tuesday. That's what they've been.
Yeah.
So if everyone's busy, and it usually is about 40 minutes.
Yep. But the last meeting I thought was good. We did go through basically similar to what we talked about last time, the steps and procedures associated with how the whole tree policy is going to be enacted, and then the information that we get in this form, and talked about the select board meeting. Chuck, was there anything else that I think that was really it. I don't think there were any projects that we
asked for them to start using the form, even though that the select board hasn't officially approved it. They agreed. Right. And then we talked about a site in Pineville Conservation Area.
Thank you.
That needed some work, and I'm trying to call it up right now. And they wanted to see if the commission would, listen to, is this area here right off of Warren Ave. There's a lot of sediment in that area, and they want to get in there and remove the sediment. They consider it an emergency. I need to get out there. Jeff, what's Jeff's last name?
Cummings?
Yeah, Cummings. Jeff Cummings wants to meet me out there, and one of the engineers. I can send it out to the commission too. If anyone's around, they can meet us in this area. And apparently this stream bed is just filled up with sediment, and they want to take it out. They think it will be a one-time process, because the town actually doesn't use sediment. It doesn't use sand anymore when they're during the winter process. So it should be good. And there's a drain line in there that's getting close to being compromised. So that's the reason, that's the emergency. I think
Chuck,
obviously it's right here.
What they had talked about is this was issued as with a permit in the past, and I can't remember if they had said it was an emergency permit, but it was issued with a permit more than 3 years ago, and it's just expired. Like they never ended up getting to the work, and it just expired.
Emergency
know that
permit is only 30 days, and it can be
Okay.
extended once, so it could be 60 days. But yeah, it was brought to the commit. So yeah, so the backstory is that this was an emergency 3 years ago, and they came to the they came to the commission. They came to me, and they said that this needs to be done, and you know, the commission said, all right, you know, the DPW, they're telling us that this needs to be done. They're saying that it's an emergency. We'll issue an emergency permit, and that's what we did. But then the work never took place. So, I mean, I guess you have to factor that into your decision about how to move forward.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's probably worse than it was before. But I think a site visit is necessary before we get into, you know, if it's emergency or not.
You
Yeah,
said there's
agreed.
Drain that's being compromised. What kind of drain are we talking about?
It's a sewer drain. It's right here. If I get in on that, it might say what it is. No, it doesn't. It's this piece right here. It might go in this direction too, but right there where it crosses becomes the problem. So here's Maple Street. The access is through here. It's like all this. And then the drain's right there. So I mean, how does the commission, would you want to see like a presentation, or you want me just to update you on it? I think the last time I updated you, I think maybe Ryan came, or George Zamboris, which was the old town engineer, came and talked about it.
Chuck, is this the
Yeah.
site that you and I went to a couple of years ago that it was all eroding underneath the sewer pipe, but then there was a big giant buildup of sand?
It's eroding on the sides of the bank, and they said they would do some repairs on the sides of the bank as part of this project. So they were going to be able to help that out, and then we were going to be able to stop this undermining, this undercutting with the bank. Because this, you know, this drain at Warren Ave is unbelievable. It really takes like a quarter of the town, and it really comes out of there when it's raining. So there's a lot of erosion in this area, but it's just on the side, and the bank is spreading out, you know, into the softer dirt, and all the sediment is stacked up in the center. So maybe that's more familiar to other people, but that's what's happening. But it was undercutting on the bank, and there's a cement covered sewer pipe in there that's, you know, the sediment is just getting closer and closer to the bottom of that, and you don't want that sediment pushing on the sewer pipe or the water. So I have a feeling that they're going to talk to us more about that, and I mean, I would let them make their presentation. I would offer the commission to go out there when we take a look, and then obviously they would write up what they're going to do, and the commission could review that and decide whether they accept it or not, that it's an emergency. And then, you know, we would issue an emergency permit if that's the case. Otherwise, you would tell them that they need to submit an application, like a notice of intent or a request for determination. I don't think this would work as a request. You're either an emergency or a notice of intent. So that's how I see it.
Chuck, as I recall that situation from a couple of years ago, that was an emergency back then.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
it's
that's what they
gotten
said.
Worse, it's gonna be worse.
Yeah, I know that makes a lot of common sense to say, you know, it's only been it's it's got worse. I mean, just like you said, it's only got worse. I know. What time is it? But what I'm worried about is sending an emergency permit in for the same site to DEP for the same work.
So are we gonna look a little foolish of like, it wasn't, emergencies are supposed to get done?
Well, or it's supposed to give them enough time to submit a permit. You're supposed to take the pressure off and then,
Okay.
yeah. So that's my only hesitation to this whole situation. I mean, DEP's busy. I mean, whatever. I don't know. And if it's an emergency, we can just do that. And then, I mean, it just speaks for itself if it's an emergency. And like I said, the way that works is that the DPW declares that it's an emergency, like Jane Kinsella, someone like that. Someone in charge has to tell me that they're calling it an emergency. So we can't declare it an emergency. And with that, it's pretty clear that, the commission would just need to make a decision based on her professional call. So,
Okay.
so that's that.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so that was the gist. Those were the items that were up there. Any bills, Chuck?
No bills.
And then, Red.
No, Keith, I'm gonna look for a site. Thank you, reminded me of something, but I have to find the street address.
Well,
Let me,
while we're
maybe-
waiting.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, maybe you can, remember those 3 houses, that clear cut in back of them? What was that address?
The 3 houses?
The 3 houses on,
Jaquesset?
not
Gray Coach.
Jaquesset, Gray Coach, thank you.
By Sanborn. I think if you scroll up a little bit more, you'll get it. I thought.
Let me
Maybe
see. Yeah, let me I'll just search. But anyways, go ahead and Gray
So
Coach.
we got minutes for January 27th. Does everybody have a chance to take a look, and anybody have any comments? Oh, now it's not even close.
Yeah, Carriage Lane. Okay, good. It was 3.
If there's no comments, do I hear a motion?
Anything? Make a motion to approve the minutes of 127.
I'll second that.
Michael Flynn in favor?
Anika Scanlon in favor.
Martha Moore in favor.
John Sullivan in favor.
Keith in favor.
Carl Ciccone in favor.
David Panett in favor.
Right. So what's going on over here, Chuck?
Yeah, I just need the commission to, and I think we voted this on already, but I just need to confirm that the commission is okay with me returning the bond to 3 Carriage Lane, 56 Gray Coach, and 62 Gray Coach, that the work is complete and I have permission to return the money that was put up for the bonds on those projects.
Yeah. Do you want us to vote on it?
I need a vote because that's what.
Did.
Yeah, I think you did too.
Okay.
There's just a little bit of confusion within town hall.
Okay.
So if you vote on it again, it's in 2 minutes, and I need that.
Okay.
So a vote to release the bonds for 3 Carriage Lane, 56 and 62 Gray Coach. Someone just say so moved.
So moved.
Second?
Seconded.
Great.
Michael Flynn in favor?
Anika Scanlon in favor.
Martha Moore in favor.
John Sullivan in favor.
Scott Keith in favor.
Carl? I think you're on mute. Dave,
Carl
why don't you go?
Scott in favor.
There you go.
David Connett in favor.
All right. Any other
Right.
items, Chuck? Anybody?
I just want to let everyone know that we're starting another signature chain on Monday. This packet has the new notice of intent and RDA forms in it, so we won't be doing this again. That enforcement order needs to be signed also, but that won't come until the next meeting. I actually can sign that. You guys have to ratify it, so it actually can go out under my signature. So there's not enough pressure. So we won't have to do this too much more. And the transfer of the land at 102 Haverhill Street should happen in the April 20th Select Board meeting. Hopefully that's can get confirmed. It seems to work out with the halls, and the Select Board has a little bit of time on that, so that would be great to get that completed. Yeah, that seems to be.
I'm gonna pick up the initial document, so I'll reach out to a few of you next week to get some of the additional signatures. For this, it's different than the last one where we don't necessarily need every single commission member. We need at least 4, but yeah, so if some of you aren't around, we'll figure it out, but I want to make sure we get as many as we can on there.
Right, okay. And I guess everyone signed the that piece of paper that went around for the deed.
Yeah, that's all signed.
Okay, so we just need that to go to the Select Board this time. Obviously, I just told you the date. So great. So that's all I have. I think a couple of projects are going to come in. I mean, it's been pretty light, but I think we're going to get a couple projects soon. I think 3 Small Street. Is that what? It's small, right?
Small Lane.
Either short or small. I don't know which one it is, but it's that 2-lot subdivision. It's in back of Charles Street.
22. 18 and 22 small.
Yeah.
Yeah. Small Lane is over there. Short Street is off of Mill Street.
Chuck, I think I can't remember if we talked about this last time or if you and I just talked about it. Did you ever look into what's the other? There's too many Main Street numbers now. The LEC one, where they're in the environmental monitor.
Yeah. So Smith, we call that Smith Oil for
Smith
short,
Oil,
but
Smith
yeah,
Oil.
yeah.
The Smith Oil. How are we doing with LEC and their fees?
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you asked. So, you know what? I didn't download it. We're doing fine. We have $12,000. They've used about $3,000 of it, but we have a spreadsheet that shows that. I so I put it all together, and I was surprised that they didn't eat up a lot, but maybe they'll eat up more in the spring.
Okay.
Because they wanted 50 grand.
40, right? 40 or 50.
40 or 50, and these guys are flying, and everyone says they're very professional. But there's some intensive monitoring that's coming up during the path and during the mitigation project. So yeah, if ever the commission wants to go down there and do a site visit, just let me know. It's a very active site, so we have to set it up.
They're pretty far along.
Yeah.
They've been putting up steel for the last week and a half or so.
Don't blink.
No.
Don't blink over there. Yeah, Smith Oil. So yeah, we got that there. We're well underway. I would think that they don't need, we're not going to get into the 50s for that. So.
Yeah.
And then we're
Good.
waiting for the final bill for the veterinary's hospital. And again, that needs to be signed. So that's going out on Monday. That one and Westcroft is going out on Monday.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, if you come to even later, I can add this last one we just did. But
Okay.
you come when you
Tell
feel
me-
like, because we'll have those
tell me what time-
signature pages.
That's fine. Tell me what time works for you. Let me look at my calendar.
I usually get into Reading, usually in the office by, I don't know, 8:30, and I stay pretty late. No one else does, so it's just great. All to myself. You don't have to worry about being quiet or anything. So I should be there all day, 8
Right.
to 4 or 5, something like that.
right,
Or I
let's
can
do-
go down to where
give
you
you-
are.
I'll give you a call on Monday. We can figure it out. I'll just put a
Alright.
note for myself. All right.
But if you're at
Anybody
the
have any
office
oth-
ever, I'm always willing to go there and, get lunch.
I told you, we're not, I can't even get coffee myself anymore.
I know it's all right. All right. So we're just killing this thing. We gotta end.
Any other items? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
I second.
All right, all those in favor, raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Have a good night, guys.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. All right. Bye now.